Coming to you from Blue Crew Studio in Temecula, California, it's the Whiskey Throttle Show, taking you inside the lives and careers of the legends and leaders of action sports. Today's guest is brought to you by Yamaha. Yamaha is the industry leader in 2- and 4-wheel fun and performance. Motocross, off-road, adventure, side-by-side, Yamaha sets the standard. Yamaha revs your heart. The Whiskey Throttle Show is presented by motosport.com. It doesn't matter if you like to pull a throttle cable on a dirt bike, street bike, side-by-side. Motosport.com is putting riders first with parts, gear, and accessories, including some of our partners like Troy Lee Designs, Dunlop, Pro Circuit, and more. They offer first returns free on apparel so you can buy with confidence. And Motosport.com offers fast, free shipping on all orders over $79. Make your next ride your best ride. Visit Motosport.com. Troy Lee made a name for himself as the most elite helmet painter in all forms of motorsport racing. His ability to make a stationary object look fast is something rare. That creativity gave way to motocross and mountain bike gear, helmets, and an arsenal of protective equipment aimed at keeping racers on the track and out of a doctor's office. The 2025 TLD line is out, and it's as fast as ever. Troy Lee Designs, blending speed and style. Rockform, creators of the world's strongest magnetic phone case. They have mounts for your car, motorcycle, and bicycle, as well as universal mounts to adhere your phone to any surface. They also have screen protectors, power banks, stands, chargers, and more. And don't forget the G-Rock wireless golf speaker. Magnets adhere this powerful speaker to your cart, or any metallic surface for that matter, so you have tunes while you golf, work, or hang out. Rockform, always innovating the phone case market. Rockwell designs all their sunglasses in their U.S. headquarters in Utah. Then they are manufactured in Italy using the strictest craftsmanship standards, ensuring you get the best pair of sunglasses you've ever owned. From men's and women's designs, floatable, alloy frame, and a UV 400 rating, which blocks out 100% of UV rays, Rockwell has everything you need for you and your family. Use our code WT20 for 20% discount at checkout at rockwelltime.com. Hey everybody, welcome to the Whiskey Throttle Show. We're here in Blue Crew Studios with a great guest today, somebody I've known a long time, have a ton of respect for, former pro racer turned one of the most successful businessmen in our sport. It's Eddie Cole. Eddie, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks.
Really glad to have you.
Happy to be here.
Well, you've been involved in so many things, man. You've got your fingers into so many businesses, things I didn't even know until I started digging in and prepping for this show. I mean, I knew you were in a lot of things, but you were involved in stuff. I'm like, gee, is that too? Yeah. And I've got a lot of questions. Okay. So we're going to get to it. We always start with a motorsport.com gate drop. Guys, get anything you need over at motorsport.com. Don't even leave your house. Just order it. Probably have Matrix Concept stuff in there, I would guess.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
So you can get it all over there. Check out motorsport.com. We're going to get into all the details of all these, but like I just said, you're involved in so many things. I mean, what right now are you working on outside of, you got Matrix Concepts, but what other things are you doing right now?
Yeah, I've got several projects going on actually, but the main ones are obviously Matrix Concepts that you mentioned with my two boys, Chad and Cameron, and then in addition to that, we've just recently launched 101 e-bikes with Jeremy McGrath and Bob Harrow, our partners with us. And so that's a major project for us and keeps me busy, really busy right now. Yeah. We just started shipping product about 9 months ago. So it's in the beginning stages, a lot of work to do, a lot of stuff to figure out. And then we've got Gearne Boots. I'm involved with them doing their strategic planning for sales and marketing along with their product strategy here in America. So that's something that's sort of close to me that I really enjoy doing.
Yeah, and that's been tied into Answer going way, 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 way back. So you've been involved with that for decades.
For decades. And so, we brought Gearne to America in the very, very beginning, back in the late 70s. And then, I moved away from the project after we sold the company, Answer Products. And then back to just 2 years ago, they came back after Bob Rathkamp retired and said, hey, Eddie, do you know somebody that can help us out? So, and one thing led to another, and I ended up with another job. But of course. I really enjoy that. And so I'm really focused on that right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So
awesome. And I know you're lifelong friends with Bob Hanna. I don't even know how you guys got to be friends. Maybe we can kind of get to that eventually. But
sure.
Well, shoot, tell it now. How did you guys even get to be pals? Because probably of anybody I know, you're more connected with him. You just said you're going up to visit him and going flying around here soon. How did you guys get to be friends?
Yeah, so
because he doesn't make friends with very many people.
He's probably got few friends. You're right. Bob and I in Southern California, when he was just starting out, I was almost just finishing up, and so we actually raced against each other here locally at Indian Dunes and Munt Cycle Park and Saddleback, and so our paths crossed on the racetrack.
Okay,
and I don't know, we just sort of started talking to each other. I don't know exactly what triggered that, but we ended up becoming friends, and so we practiced a lot together. And as obviously his career, I could tell he was going to be great as I was just finishing up, and so I stayed in touch with him, and we just became friends and hit it off. And so today we're still close, and he's close with my boys. And but I wish I had a better story that said, he ran over me or I ran over him or something. But we just hit it off at the track, and he was in my wedding. And I remember going to the first championship banquet, AMA banquet, to get his number one plate. You'd have to help me out. Maybe that was 76 or maybe 76 or 7. I'm not sure.
It's one of those two.
And I remember going to his house to pick him up, and he says, "Eddie, they tell me I got to have a tie." And so I don't even
tell me.
I don't even know how to tie a tie.
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, shit, neither do I." So we found some Men's Warehouse or something and got a sports jacket for the two of us. And, he didn't have anybody to go with him. So I ended up going with him, and we had some clip-on ties, and we went in there. And,
what's more embarrassing, the clip-on tie or having the salesman tie your tie for you?
Yeah, exactly. And so I didn't know how to tie a tie, nor did he. And just a fun little note. Yeah. And I remember it was at the Disneyland Hotel or something.
Oh, really?
If I remember right. It was here on the West Coast. Yeah. And so I remember halfway through, he got his award or whatever, and his number one plate. I can't remember exactly. And I can remember him halfway through saying, "Hey, Eddie, let's get out of here. Let's go to In-N-Out or McDonald's or something," right? They had these rubber chickens on the table, and so
that's funny.
We stayed in touch ever since, and he's been really a supporter of our projects as we've gone through each one of them, and a great friend.
Were you involved in HRP?
Well, yes and no. I wasn't an owner in HRP. That was Bob, Scott Boyer, and Dick Kreider. And Scott and Dick were from Scott USA, and they all lived up there in Sun Valley, Idaho together at one time, and so they did that. But they came to us at Answer Products, and we built all the product. We built the jerseys and the pants and kidney belts. The kidney belt was actually built right into the pant. Yeah. And so we produced most of that product for them. So we were involved in that aspect.
I would tell you that old flak jack, still maybe one of the best chest protectors ever made.
Yeah. So that was built by a group back in Massachusetts, and I can't remember what they started out with, but that was a product that we didn't build. But we built all the apparel for them and the handlebars and that kind of stuff. But that was that sort of revolutionized, upper body protection. I mean, that was the first real, if I remember right. JT might have had some stuff there, but that thing really put upper body outer protection on the map.
It did, and it was the shoulder pad was separate, just attached with a strap so it could move.
Right.
Where the JT one, I think it was the V1000 or V something.
That's right.
It was one solid piece, so it was it was just clunky and had big, like tips on the shoulders. It was kind of odd. Yeah. Anyway, cool stuff, man.
Yeah.
Well, let's dive into your story. I want to remind everybody, get over to WhiskeyThrottleMedia.com. Check out all the stuff we got going on over there. Moto, off-road, dual sport, a really cool new vintage feature on our YouTube page called Warhorse. You dig that. It's just walk through really well-restored classic bikes. So check that out. And also, we're about to relaunch our merch with our partners over at Ethica. It's all going to be on Ethica Blanks. It's going to be really cool. Excited for that. Stay tuned. Our guest story is brought to you by Yamaha. Rev your heart, man. Get on the Blue Crew. So tell me where you grew up. Are you a Valencia guy through and through, or Santa Clarita?
Yeah. So my parents moved there in the early 60s, I think, to Santa Clarita. It was actually Canyon Country is where technically I grew up.
Okay.
And
all in the same neck of the woods there.
Yeah, up in that area in the Santa Clarita Valley. So I went to grade school there and, grew up just normal family. Yeah,
I noticed you didn't get into dirt bikes till a little later, teenager. So what were you doing as a kid? Were you playing stick and ball sports? Did you do other stuff?
Yeah, so my father, he was a professional basketball player. He played for the New York Knicks.
What?
And he went.
You're not a whole lot taller than me.
Yeah, he was a little guy, 5'11", and he went to Creighton University on a basketball scholarship. He was the first guy drafted from Creighton University into the NBA.
Is that right? What was his name?
Eddie Cole.
Oh, okay.
He had a great college career. The professional career didn't really work out the way he had planned, and he played for a couple of years, and he moved us all to Southern California. And he was a basketball coach for a high school called Alamany High School in Granada Hills.
I imagine he was a forward, right?
And he was a guard.
A guard, okay.
And, so I played basketball. That's what I did, and he was a coach. And so, I knew nothing about motorcycling whatsoever.
Yeah.
And motorcycling was the furthest thing from our family's interests.
Gosh,
sure.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Were you a pretty good ball player?
Well,
I got to imagine you could shoot if Dad was a...
Yeah, I was okay. I played I didn't spend a lot of time in school, so I wasn't a big school guy. And so I played on the high school team until about the 10th grade. So I went to 9th and 10th grade, and then I decided that I was going to pursue motorcycling. So my basketball career was over.
Was short-lived?
Yeah, it was short-lived. And I did all those sports, though.
Kind of played everything.
Baseball and basketball.
Any siblings?
I have a younger brother and a younger sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're local as well? Or?
Craig is in, my brother, he's in Texas, and my sister Darlene had worked with us from the very beginning of time in every company I've been involved with, and she lives in Santa Clarita near us.
So you guys are obviously real close. Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And what did your dad was a basketball player? Did mom work, or she stayed home with the family?
Well, she worked too. I mean, it took two incomes to live in Southern California, even in the 60s and the 70s, right?
Yeah.
So they both worked their butts off and to give us everything that we wanted, and they bought a lot of motorcycles in the early days. So it probably took two incomes to keep up with us. Yeah.
Okay, I love where this is going. I got some questions I want to ask specifically, but let's talk about business experience.
Yeah.
You did become a factory rider at one point, and you were a pro racer, and we'll go through that, but you really made your mark as a businessman.
Yeah.
Did you have any kind of, obviously not college courses, like how did you get that business acumen?
Well, I think through experience.
Okay.
One thing that my parents taught us was a good work ethic.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think when you really are passionate about something, probably just like this project that you have here, is it doesn't really become work. It becomes sort of a way of life.
Yeah.
And, you're so interested in trying to do good things that, I just learned on the fly. I wish I could say I was really smart, or I'm probably pretty lucky, to have surrounded myself with the right type of people at the right time, and we've really enjoyed some real success in business. But it's about, I think, the love of what you're doing and the passion for that, and again, surrounding yourself with the right people. Mm-hmm. And so I met good people along the way, and somehow together we created some really great things.
Yeah.
But it's a village.
Well, there's this sort of cultural pressure that, you got to get good grades in high school, you got to go to college, or you never amount to anything.
Yeah.
And I know more very successful people, professionally, however you want to define success, but professionally, who, maybe they finished high school, maybe they went to a little college, maybe they didn't, but they're ultra successful because of the things you just said. They work their ass off. They understand how to work.
Yeah.
And they're passionate about what they do, or they're putting their name on something. They want it to be the very best it can be.
Yeah. I mean, we never were in business for the money. We always sort of felt like the money will come if you do a good job, right? And so
it's just like racing.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
You do it for the love, and then the money will come if you're good at it. And so
did you, as a racer, you had to have been competitive? Is that drive you? Because I know for me, when I get up in the morning, I think of like, if someone who's got a bigger media brand, I'm like, all right, we're going to make some moves today. We're going to, I'm going to beat this person. I want to get to here.
Yeah.
That drives me.
Yeah.
And a win just looks differently than it used to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That has to be a part of your DNA.
It is. And it's interesting that you bring that up, and, not to get sidetracked, but Bob is, you can imagine Bob Hanna is such a competitive guy, right? Nobody would have to
anything he does
mention that. But it's funny because being around Bob in the early days, Bob was a guy who bet on everything. If we were in the parking lot at a Walmart or a shopping mall, he would bet you I can catch one of those pigeons, in my hand. And so I actually really, even though I was at the end of my career in racing, I was obviously competitive, or I wouldn't have been a racer. But he really instilled being competitive, and so that I think that he doesn't know this, but he was probably instrumental in helping me in business be more competitive and keep an eye on my competitors. And so, I wanted to beat those guys.
He always was kind of notorious for hating his competitors, whether he really did or not. That was kind of how he told himself, got himself out of bed. Yeah. And I try not to be that way. I don't hate anybody, but it's like, I want to beat you.
Yeah, of course.
And so, it's kind of contagious, right? Hanging around a guy like Bob.
Yeah, and I think that I looked up to my competitors, right, in business, and I if I think back on who were the early competitors, guys like John Penton at High Point and Penton, and then John Gregory at JT Racing, he had all the riders, he had the big spreads in the magazines, and those two guys were the guys that you wanted to grow up and be like those guys. And so,
now you're about to go up and meet up with John Gregory at JT. That's cool.
So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Okay, so at 14, you dropped out of school to go racing, and I just got to think, were they excited about that, or were your parents like, what are you doing?
I do have a little story. So Kawasaki came and said, from Canada, of all places, from Eastern Canada, and said, hey, we want you to come and race Kawasaki's in Eastern Canada in the championship there. I can't remember year, maybe 74-ish or so. And so I went to my dad and mother, and I said, hey, I got a chance to go to Canada, but I am in high school, and I think I want to go. And so what do you guys think? And my dad looked at me and said, Eddie, we can't make that decision for you. We can't. You know what? You're not a bad rider, he says, and so if you want to try this, you could always go back to school. And so you'll have to make up your own mind. And I remember, a lot of help you guys are.
Yeah, you kind of wanted their
or
direction
approval. And so I remember riding my motorcycle up into the mountains. I could ride right from my driveway back then. I had all these tracks and right there near home. And so I remember just really being upset about man, I have to make this decision what to do. I hated school, right? I went to school and didn't pay attention to anybody. And so I thought I went to school because I could play basketball on the basketball team is why I was at school.
Yeah.
So I said, shit, I'm going to do it. So I kissed my girlfriend goodbye and my mom and dad and jumped on a plane and went to Toronto, Canada, and they rented a house for me. And we had 3 or 4 guys.
At 14?
Well, this was at, I'm fast forwarding, but this is probably at 17.
Okay.
Yeah. So
still very young. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, let's back up, I guess. Tell me about your first bike and how you got even introduced to motorcycles. Let's go back to there.
Yeah. So I had a neighbor. His name was Tom, and he had a Husqvarna in the driveway. He'd polish it and work on it. He was just 2 doors up from where I grew up.
Okay.
And I hung out with him in the driveway watching him, and I don't think he ever rode it, but he played with it a lot.
Garage queen.
Yeah, exactly. And he said, hey, Eddie, you want to go? I'm going to this motocross race here at I actually thought it was Copetown, but I later learned that I don't think it was Copetown. I think it was a movie set somewhere in Calabasas. And I didn't ever really do a lot of research on this, but I went to the race with him. And Joel Robert was there, and Torsten Hallman, and Gary Bailey, and John DeSoto. And I went to that race knowing nothing about motocross. And I just, wow. I told myself at that very moment, I want to do this. This is really cool.
Yeah.
And
what year would that have been?
Oh,
and
man.
How old were you?
Yeah, I'm so bad with years and numbers. And it was, I had to have been in junior high school.
Maybe like 12, 13 then?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because at that time, I didn't have a motorcycle, so it was early on. Maybe I was 10 or 12 years old at that very time. I'd have to go back and do the math.
Yeah, just ballparking. Okay.
Yeah,
so that was it, huh? What was your
I was
memory
hooked.
of, like Joel Robert? That would have been so cool.
Yeah.
And you probably didn't know who he even was, huh?
No.
Yeah.
But, I was a fast learner, and, he's got a cigarette on the starting line, and, I'm just, back then I could stand next to him just like I'm talking to you now.
Yeah.
So it was just, I don't know how it resonated with me, but it was just, I was hooked in that moment. And so my whole life changed in that one instant. I knew nothing about motorcycling. And it's funny how you go through life and some little thing will trigger something. And here we are now today sitting here talking about, marketing or about motorcycling. So
what a fork in the road.
Yeah, exactly.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Okay. So then how long until you got a bike?
Well, the first bike was I had a drum set, so I traded a drum set for a Taco mini bike, and that was the first sort of 2-wheel experience, right? And I pushed that thing around more than I rode it. It never ran.
Oh, it was broken.
Yeah, poor guy at the gas station up the street here. He was the mechanic there, and I bugged the shit out of him every day to help me fix it, right? And I pushed that thing all over the place. And then I convinced my mother and dad later on. They bought me a shoot, you'll have to help me out. It was a little 80 Yamaha, and it was a monocoque sort of frame that was welded together. I don't know what year that would have been, darn it. Maybe in the late 60s. Anyway,
not my wheelhouse.
I can't think of the name of the bike, but I cut that thing all up. I cut the fenders off and took the headlight off, and we rode it in the dirt. And that was my YZ80 was my first experience on a larger motorcycle than a mini bike.
And did you just ride the wheels off that thing?
I did, and then from there, I ended up, I came home from junior high school graduation. And my mother said, Eddie, I want to introduce you to your new sister. And I had to think about that for a second. And this is Carol, and she's going to live with us, and she's a foster child. So my mother brought this gal in to live with us because she had nowhere to go.
Okay.
And the craziest thing is to try to connect these dots. So Tom's up the road, a couple doors up. He's got a motorcycle. This gal comes to live with us, and I get to know her. And she says, my brother races motorcycles. His name is Tim Renfro, and he races in the desert. And would you like to go with my brother and I to the races in the desert? This all happens within just months of each other.
Jeez.
So
serendipity.
So now I'm in the desert, and I'm watching him race a green streak, a Kawasaki green streak, and so Tom's up the road. Now Tim enters my life, and before I know it, I have an AT1 motorcycle, and I'm going to the desert races with him and racing in the desert. So
you started in the desert, not even moto.
Right, and
okay.
I got sick of that real quick because every time the bike would break and I'd be stuck in the middle of nowhere, and that got old real quick. Yeah, I'm going to go somewhere where I can walk back to the truck.
Much
right?
shorter push to the truck.
Right, yeah. So.
That's crazy. Okay. So when was your first motocross race then? Shortly after that.
Well, yeah, it was Ascot Park.
Okay.
And a friend of mine was going, and he asked me to go with him, and he was racing, and I called my mother and said, hey, I need $20 for an entry fee, and can I go? And she said, sure, be careful. And so we went down to Ascot Park on a Thursday afternoon. And, back then there were these two little ponds in the middle of the track, and you'd go around the track, and then you'd go through the center of these two ponds. They had the dirt built up, and I ended up in the lake the first time I raced motocross. Yeah, so the bike's floating in there, and yeah, that was
what happened? Just got a little squirrely.
Yeah, hit a little bump and into the lake, and so that was my first motocross experience. So we got the bike dried off and got my goggles cleaned up. And we rode the second moto. But, yeah, so I had a lot of fun at Ascot Park, and that was my first motocross race.
Was Saddleback open at the time? Or, sorry, Indian Dunes? You guys, that would have been right up.
Yeah, Indian Dunes was probably open or just getting opened at that time. Yeah, and Indian Dunes was a 5-mile ride from my home, my childhood home. Yeah, so I spent a lot of time there.
Yeah, I'll bet. So that's why I thought that was probably your local spot, huh?
Yeah.
I didn't get to see that or Ascot. A lot of these tracks, Corona Raceway, they're all gone by the time I got out here.
Yeah.
But it seemed like you guys, and you mentioned this, you were racing like 5 nights a week.
Yeah, it's crazy to think back. Back then is so we would have a schedule where we would ride a 125, a 250, and if you were lucky enough to have an open bike or a 500cc bike, you could ride all 3 classes, right? So we would go, if I could remember right here, is that Tuesday night we would go to El Toro Raceway.
In Irvine?
In Irvine.
Okay.
And it was a stock car track, and you went in and out of the thing, and they put some lights up that were like flashlights, right? And so that was Tuesday night. Wednesday night was I'm trying to think where we would go. Wednesday would be I can't think of it. Thursday would be Ascot on Thursday nights. Friday would be Indian Dunes on a Friday night. Saturday would be either Saddleback or Indian Dunes, and then Sunday would be the bigger race that you would go to, and that would be either Indian Dunes, Carlsbad, Saddleback, and then Monday you would have off, and you would try to keep your bikes going for all these races, but we rode 5-6 nights a week.
Was Dianza open back then?
Well, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
There were so many tracks, man.
What help me? What was Glen Helen before? What was that
Arroyo.
called? Arroyo.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I remember racing there though before it was Glen Helen. Yeah.
Crazy. Such a cool time, such a neat time in the sport. Who were the guys you were looking up to, locally or on a world stage? I imagine the GPs for you guys, that was the pinnacle at the time.
Yeah, you had, I mean, the guys in Europe like Roger DeCoster, he was a guy that we always looked up to for sure. And there were local guys, Marty Tripes, Gary Bailey, Gary Jones. There were some guys on the East Coast, Sonny DeFeo, I can remember, who was sort of a star back then. And I'm drawing a blank, but there were a lot of them. There were a lot of really, really solid guys back then, and it was pretty fun.
How were just getting that info through Cycle News? What was your?
Yeah, I think so. There was no internet,
no TV, I think people that are younger don't even know like how difficult it was to find anything. I mean, I remember as a kid watching Moto World. Yeah. Remember that show on ESPN?
Yeah.
It was like a 30-minute show, and maybe 10 of it was moto.
Yeah.
And you were just glued to the set for that 10 minutes.
I do remember that for sure.
That was your only peek at it.
Yeah.
And GPs, I mean, forget it. You'd get 2 photos in the Cycle News. That was about it.
Yeah, but Cycle News really did an unbelievable job, right? It came out every Wednesday, and boy, you'd chase the mailman down to get that, and you'd study it from cover to cover. And you're right. There were some magazines, but those were obviously monthly publications, and so they were old news by the time they came out. And so, but it was a really fun time. And when I was talking to my wife last night, and we were looking through some old stuff to bring here, I told her, it brings back so many great memories, and life was so much different then, but it was a really special time in my life.
Yeah,
motorcycling was really special to me.
Yeah, it's something that's hard to replicate or replace, really.
It is.
I think it's why it's so hard when guys retire to transition to what's next. Nothing can fill that void, really. You have to, you got to work at finding something, but I was always, DeCoster was a little before my era, before I got into it. And so I never got to see him ride firsthand or whatever. But I hear everybody that I looked up to, the RJs, the Wardies, Bob.
Yeah.
Bob told a story on our show about, where was he working up? Somewhere, and DeCoster walked in, and it was like the whole place just...
Suzuki.
It was Suzuki?
He said, yeah.
The place just, everyone froze. It was like Jesus himself was walking into the building.
Floated in, yeah.
And so I just, that's really interesting to me. And I have this cool picture of DeCoster here that and I'll try to put a picture up if you're watching the show. But I went in and had him sign it this week, and he was telling me this was Farley Castle in '74. And he's like, oh, yeah, see the silencer? That was the first year they made us put a silencer on it. And the pipes would always get smashed. It was the one thing Suzuki did really well was, he goes, they put a new pipe on every week because it would get dented. And even if it wasn't dented, my mechanic thought it was, if there was no carbon buildup, it ran better. And he was giving me all these details, of 1974, before I was even born.
Yeah.
But I've done a race at Farley, so I kind of, and I said, where is this on the track? And he explained it's the upper terrace part. I'm like, okay. I don't know. It's just really neat when I can tie this sport from the history of it to now, people that know each other, or you'll tell a story and it intersects with someone else's story. And
I was when you did the deal with Bob, I was there that night, and
well, you put it together. Thank you.
Yeah. And, I enjoy listening to Bob talk about Roger, and I remember that specific story that you're mentioning. But I have a little DeCoster story. So I was racing for factory Kawasaki on a Works 125, and we were at Mid Ohio.
74, right?
74.
Okay.
I do remember a few dates, so 74, and so. It's breakfast time at the hotel, and I walked into the restaurant, and the place was packed. Every rider, every mechanic, every team manager, everybody was in there getting their breakfast to go before the track. And I'm sitting at a little table by myself, and who walks in and walks straight to my table and says, "Excuse me, can I sit here with you?" I had an open chair at the table, and it's Roger DeCoster.
What did you do?
And I almost choked on my pancakes, right? And I said, yeah, sure. You know, and it was like this, I'm drawing a blank on the word I'm looking for, but it was like this mystical guy that, you know, it was really strange.
Larger than life. Yeah.
Yeah. And he sits down and we get to talking, and he mentions, I've seen you before, and I've seen you ride, and you're really good. And he's talking about the Kawasaki and the Works bike. And so it was really special. And I can remember it like it was yesterday, you know. So we had this nice little 20-minute conversation while we're eating breakfast. And then I got to know him later on in the years after that. So it was pretty special. Yeah.
Does he remember that little
I don't know. I never asked him about it, you know. And I've recently had lunch with him and Hannah at Hangtown a few years back, and you know, I've been to visit him a lot, and all of the teams he's been involved with, you know, our brands have supported those projects throughout the years. And so, from 74 till now, you know, I've stayed in touch with him and know him pretty well. And,
So cool. That it is something that's neat about our sport. You know, you get to know these people that you just put on such a pedestal, and oftentimes they live up to that. I think that's maybe rare, you know, in other sports.
Yeah.
Jeff Ward was like my childhood hero, and we became teammates at TLD riding supermoto.
Right. Wow.
And I remember sitting in the truck, and we're both changing into our gear, and I'm like, I'm teammates with Jeff Ward. Like it was just, you know,
special,
just like that moment.
Yeah.
Like, I'll never forget it. So pretty neat. Okay. So, how did you start your racing, you're doing all these weekly races, which sidebar here, but like our sport's so different.
I know.
You know, no one races anymore. And it's so odd to me. But back then you guys didn't have a track that was open for practice. It's like if you wanted to go practice, it was just a dusty, dry spot out in the hills.
Yeah, exactly.
Now we have perfectly groomed prep tracks every day of the week. You know what I mean? And guys have given up the racing to just, I'll just go ride.
Yeah.
And I think we've lost a lot of guys have lost racecraft because you just don't get the same thing going and doing some laps by yourself that you did racing 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
3 classes a night, you know.
Yeah. A lot of duct tape and a lot of baling wire and safety wire and putting those bikes together, and they were sort of a train wreck anyway. So those bikes, so I can't believe we did that.
Yeah. Just it was a really cool time in the sport, and I love hearing those stories. And I get a little concerned about where we're headed, you know. And I just think there's a lot of these top amateur kids who are incredible riders, but they don't have nearly the number of races. If you looked how many races a pro did back in the 70s or 80s, I mean, even in the 80s, they'd race Anaheim, and then the Sunday they'd go race a Golden State race.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
How many races that they got in versus now, these kids are doing 5, 6, 7 races a year.
Yeah.
That's it. You guys did that in a week.
Yeah.
It's just different.
Yeah, it is different for sure. Yeah, I mean, the sport's changed so much. And I think to see it today and where it's at today versus back, you know, in the 70s, it's sort of amazing to me that it's come this far, you know. And I can sit on my couch and watch Jet Lawrence and Hunter Lawrence and Hayden Deegan. I can see those guys on TV on Saturday and
live.
And and then, you know, go to a supercross race and see the amount of people that are there, and the money has, you know, the money should be better, but it for these guys that are risking their lives every day that they do this. But it is amazing to me that it has come this far, and I'm sort of happy that it is where it's at. I wish these guys were, you know, the top guys are doing so well, but then you get down to,
falls off quick.
Yeah, it falls off really quick, right? It comes off, you know, it falls off a cliff.
Outside of the top 10,
those guys are struggling to, you know, make a living.
Yeah.
And that's a travesty, you know.
Yeah.
Like they should be
if you're making the mains, you should be making a decent living.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. You know, I can remember going to Hangtown when I was riding that factory Kawasaki, and you know, the day before the race, everybody's playing softball, and all the riders, Marty Smith and everybody, they're all together. We're playing softball in the starting area, and it's muddy, and you know, people are tackling each other, and it was more like flag football than it was baseball or softball. But and then at the hotel, you know, in Kansas, we're in the pool, and everybody's swimming together, and you know, I can't imagine that happening now today with the riders that are there, right? I mean, it's such a big business now,
right?
So.
And I talk about this quite often. As you know, we always say, "Oh, we want to grow the sport. What do we got to do to grow it?" And I always go, "Man, careful what you wish for." Yes, there are some things that are better. Of course, we want these guys to make more money. They're risking and working so hard. But you used to be able, like you said, you could stand right next to Joel Robert and he's burning you with a cigarette. I mean, you know, now you got to get a ticket and stand in line just to get a peek at them, and they're going to sign for an hour and then they're gone. You know, it's so every time you gain something, you're giving something up too. You know? But having said that, I even look at the '90s era. Yeah. And tracks, national tracks were dusty, and it wasn't nearly the professional show that it is now. You know, because you can take a random person to a Supercross. They don't know anything about the sport, and they'll go, "Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I don't know anything about that, but that was pretty awesome."
That's right.
So
yeah.
Kudos to those guys for they have done really good things, but maybe it's just a part of getting old, I guess. But I do look back at those old days and go, "Man, we lost something there." In the '90s, we did Friday practice, Saturday was off. It was amateur racing, and we raced Sunday. Yeah. So Saturday was the same thing you're talking about. Yeah. Denny Stevenson, Rhino, Phil Lawrence, Jeremy, all of us would go to the mall and hang out, or we'd go play basketball, or we'd go golfing. That stuff's not happening anymore.
I don't think
it's
so.
Fly in, fly out, and those guys don't really talk much. So
so it's interesting, and I think as more money gets involved, that sort of makes sense that it's a business now, and everybody's very, very serious about it. Yeah.
And rightfully so. There's millions and millions of dollars on the line for them. So, and you've got this little window to seize the day, right? Right. Okay, so take me into how you turned pro, and what year would that have been? Obviously, it was before '74.
Right.
And you went quick. It seems like.
I in those days there wasn't a lot of protocol, or there wasn't you to go pro, you woke up one day and said,
I'm pro.
I'm a pro, right? Or so you thought anyway. And so, I mean, I guess I would have been riding a Penton in the very beginning, and that was in the 70, 71 era. Okay. And so, so I rode a Penton for a Penton, and then we did a lot of racing, these night races and some of this other stuff. And I sort of became a 125 specialist in Southern California. And that's how Kawasaki found me. And they said, okay, we got this 125 works bike that's a rotary valve, and it's sort of a development project. And we've got works bikes, and, will you consider riding those? And so I gave back my Pentons and started riding the Kawasaki.
Okay. And how was that bike?
It was amazing, honestly. I mean, maybe because it was a works bike and I knew a little bit about what was going on, and I don't know if the bike was really as good as I thought it was, but I mean, I really took to it, right? I mean, I was able to compete with Marty Smith and those guys in the early 70s. Honda had about 5 guys or so, and Kawasaki had 1 guy, me. And then I don't even know. There were some Suzuki guys and maybe a Yamaha guy here or there. But we were really competitive on that bike. The problem is that the bike would not last. The thing would blow up. We did 3 motos back then, 3 30-minute motos. And you had to qualify before the motos, and you had to have practice before that. So I was really careful because I didn't want to practice a lot because I knew this damn bike would blow itself up. And I just wanted to get through a whole day. Yeah. And So we'd get third or fourth every moto, and in the last moto, 2 laps to go,
It'd let go.
It'd let go. And
what was blowing up on it? Just
I don't know if the crank was coming apart. I don't remember. And I was fortunate enough is some little Japanese guys would come out and take the bike, and they'd take a Bell helmet bag, put the motor in, because we didn't have spare bikes.
Right.
And we're out on the road. We didn't travel back and forth. We stayed in the hotels with the mechanic in the van back then. And they'd bring back the motor, and we'd practice a little bit and go 2 motos and pray in the, I just being really careful and again. So it finished a few races that year, but we were really competitive, and the bike was fantastic, and it handled really well. And we went to Snake River Canyon that year with the bike, and we made it through the whole event that time, and finished 5th or 6th or something. And it was a great bike, and I really enjoyed it. And I wished we would have had better results, because we didn't really show up on paper. And
a lot of DNFs in there on motos.
So
the rotary valve's interesting to me. It seems like a lot of different manufacturers toyed with it, but then always went away from it.
Yeah.
What was the feel of that thing, and what was the reason they would?
I don't know. Maybe because maybe they couldn't make it last. I don't know. I wasn't probably that involved in the details back then of why and how that thing worked. But you're right. I mean, I think Kawasaki and I don't know if Can-Am was just sort of trying to mess around back then. Maybe it was, maybe not. But Kawasaki was the ones that had it, and they had it in production. They had production bikes, 125s.
Because Honda built one.
Yeah.
They never raced it that I know of, like in nationals, but they had it out here in California. I think I want to say Lachine rode it. Yamaha had one. I mean, it was like they all were playing with it, and then kind of went away.
Yeah, I don't even know what the real concept was or the advantage was, to be honest with you.
I don't either. I was kind of hoping you could tell me.
I wished I could. Yeah.
Okay, so that year ends. The next year you went back to Bultaco. Did they kind of scrap the program, or what happened there in 75?
Yeah, so Kawasaki, they just went in a different direction, right? And so I had a relationship with Bultaco, and I got bikes from those guys, and we tried some nationals, and it wasn't really working out. I had some knee operations, and so we messed around in Southern California after that. So we did the nationals on Kawasaki. We did some nationals with Bultaco, and and then I had some knee operations. Bob Hanna's still in the storyline, and he got me some Yamahas as a support ride. He was a factory guy, and he organized a support ride for me, and I was sort of a charity case for him back then. And
you and Hicks probably.
Yeah, well, I was before Hicks, yeah.
Okay.
So and then Hicks took over after I retired from the Bob Hanna sponsorship. And so I traveled around with McCarty and Hanna and those guys, and they brought me along, and I followed them real close because we'll get in trouble here probably, but they had the company gas card, so I had to stay close to them, right, while we were traveling, and so it was a really good time. And then I decided I was going to start Answer Products, and so that's sort of what comes next. And very quickly I transitioned from wanting to ride motorcycles to build products.
So before we jump into that,
yeah, sure.
This was something else that was different about that era, where there was guys, you could go race the nationals, but that was expensive. The purses weren't huge, so unless you had factory support, it didn't really make sense.
Yeah.
But you could race, like you said, 5-6 nights a week here in SoCal, race all the classes, and make a decent living. Guys like Bruce McDougall kind of come to mind. That didn't really ever go make a name on the nationals, but they made good money, and they were like dominating in Southern California.
Yeah.
Different time.
Yeah. And
it was like the whole sport was here,
It was. It very much was. And you could make a living, not a great one, but you could pay your bills, and you could make a car payment and pay for some insurance, and maybe have you didn't really need a part-time job because you were riding every night. But we made enough and Bruce is a great guy, and yeah, he was right in that mix with us, with me, and so he probably has a similar story, you know. Yeah.
Okay, so how in the world do you go from you dropped out of high school?
Yeah.
You got the year in Canada. Tell me about the Canada experience. I guess we kind of glossed over that.
Well, that was a good experience, actually. Those bikes were production bikes, and they actually stayed in one spot. Or they stayed together. No, they were Kawasaki's.
Oh, Kawasaki's, okay.
Yeah, so 125 and 250, I rode up there, and we won a lot of races up there. And there was a guy named John Erik Sahlquist from Sweden that was up there with us on Kawasaki. Another Southern California rider, Jeff Wacker, was his name, and and then there were some Canadian guys. The team was pretty big. It was 5 or 6 guys, and we rode all through Toronto and Quebec and those areas. We even went all the way to Prince Edward Island, a little island off of Nova Scotia. Jeez. And we raced their national series, and so we won a bunch of races. And so it wasn't really well put together. Even their national circuit was kind of half-assed, but at the time, Kawasaki had a big effort, and they paid us, and we did really well. And then I came back and rode the factory Kawasaki as well.
So probably built a good relationship with Kawasaki anyway through that, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you remember a Canadian rider by the name of Steve Visser? Does that ring any bells?
It doesn't.
Oh.
Darn it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I lived in Montana. This would have been late 70s, early 80s, but he was like a real fast Canadian guy that would come down. And I remember he was the fastest dude I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
So anyway, just curious. The name's not really familiar to anybody, but.
Yeah, the guy that, some of the guys I remember in Canada when I was there anyway in 74 is that there was a guy who was a champion. He was a Yamaha guy and had works bikes there, was Billy McLean. I don't know if you would know that name. Is before your era.
Kind of the first one was Ross Pedersen that I remember,
And Ross, well, he was an Answer rider, so I knew Ross pretty well. Yes, because we were sponsored him at Answer Products. Yeah. So yeah.
All right, so jump back ahead here. You decide, okay, I'm not going to race anymore. I'm going to start a company.
Yeah.
And we're going to make products. You guys, and I was looking through the catalog here, and it kind of made me giggle because I remembered you made silencers, but bars and plastics. I mean, you guys kind of made everything.
We did.
How in the heck did that start? How does a guy with no business degree, not even a high school diploma, just go, all right, I'm going to start a business and turn it into Answer? That is really impressive to me.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, you're just in the moment, and one thing leads to another, and you just go to work every day. You put one foot in front of the other, and we were fortunate that things just sort of happened. And I wished I could tell you I had this big plan, and I had this strategic, and tactical plan, and I was going to do this and do that. But here's how it started so I was riding a Bull Taco still, and the Super Bowl of motocross comes along.
Okay.
And the support class was the 500cc class, and the 250 class was the international class at the first Super Bowl.
Okay.
Bull Taco sends me a motor. I'm riding 250 Bull Tacos in Southern California, and they send me a motor that shifts on the wrong side, a European motor, because they shifted differently in Europe than they did here.
Okay.
And so I was getting ready for the Super Bowl of motocross, and I practically killed myself because I'm stepping on the brake instead of the shifter and this and that. And I said, this is not going to work. So there was a company called Steve's Bull Taco in Van Nuys, California that had just started selling 360cc Bull Tacos.
Okay.
They sold one to a guy named Fred Hoblet, a local guy. And the guy who ran the Steve's Bull Taco said, hey, Eddie, why don't you call Fred? We just delivered a brand new bike to him. Maybe he'll let you ride it in the Super Bowl. And I said, I'll try. So I call him up and I tell him who I am. And I said, look, you can go to the race with me. I'll split whatever we win. And if I break anything, Bull Taco will give you the parts. And what do you think, Fred? You want to go? And he says, sure, I'll go. I know who you are. And yeah, that'd be fun. So I pick him up at his house. We practice on the bike a little bit. We go to the race together, the two of us, in the Ford van. And I don't know, we get, don't hold me to this. We get 7th or 8th or something in the race in the 500 class. Well, he's got this swing arm on the back of his bike that he built in his garage. And it accepted 14.5-inch shocks, which I won't go into all the details of why that was important, but he built this swing arm. It worked. The bike worked really well. We got 7th or 8th. We made a little bit of money. And on the way home from the race, I'm driving. He's in the passenger seat. And I say, hey, Fred, can you build me one of those swing arms? He says, yeah, Eddie, no problem. Yeah, easy. I can do it for you. We go another 10 miles, and I'm thinking, hey, Fred, how about you take $100 of your prize money that we just won and take $100 of mine, and why don't we build 6 of these swing arms? Because I can go to the races next weekend. I can sell every one of them to my Bull Taco buddies. He says, why not? So we work that week, and we build a welding fixture in his garage.
He knew how to weld?
No. He didn't.
But how do you know how to build a welding?
The two of us, we build a fixture, a jig, and we go to tube sales. We buy 20 feet of chromoly tubing. It sticks out the van 10 feet tall, 10 feet long, and we make it to Studio City, to his garage, without killing anybody. And we cut that stuff up. We put it all together, and we go to Billy Payne's place to weld them. And so he had a welder, and he welds them for us. I go to wherever the local race is. We got a sign on the back of the door of the van with the swing arm bolted to the plywood sign, and we sell all 6 of those for $200 each. So now we got $1,200, and so we say, okay, here's your half and here's my half. And I said, well, no, wait a second. Let's build 20 next week. So we build 20, and Answer Products is born by borrowing a bike,
Jeez.
This guy knowing how to build a swing arm, me learning how to build stuff, and they they say, the rest is sort of history. We start with this Bull Taco swing arm. We build Bob Hanna practice starting gates is the next thing. So because I was a terrible starter. So my dad and we came up with this idea of, with a string, you pull that and the lever goes down, and we got a Bob Hanna starting gate, and we're going to pay him $2 a gate.
Okay.
And then we build handlebars. And so that's how it all starts, is all metal products in the garage, and then we incorporate, and then we rent a building, and things just start to happen. But yeah, I had no idea that I would ever want to be in business for myself. But I was coming to my end of my racing career, and I had to do something. Mm-hmm. And so I was sort of the marketing and the sales guy and the front man, and Fred was this behind the scenes engineer guy who was really smart. And we started building these products together. And his parents helped us a little bit. They put a little bit of money in. We borrowed a little money from them and paid them back. And, the first employees we hired was my mother and my sister. And the kid down the street called Roger Gobbin, who was a motorcycle kid who grew up 2 doors down from me. And, all of a sudden we had a half a dozen people working in a shop, and we were building more stuff than we couldn't build it fast enough. It was just crazy.
Gosh.
Just crazy.
That's so cool, man. I feel like guys who do well in this sport, because, if you win a bunch of titles and you make a lot of money,
yeah,
when you're done, you don't have to go do anything right away, right?
Right. That's right.
You can kind of cruise. And so that lack of necessity, I think, is an anchor.
Yeah.
For your next step, right?
Yeah.
Where a guy like you, a guy like me, when I got done racing, and I saved some money, put some money away, but I wasn't living on it.
Yeah.
It's like, I got to go do something.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? And you have to go do something, right? And so then you start pedaling the bicycle. You'll figure out which way you're going to steer, but you got to start pedaling. And So it's a guy like yourself. You understand the sport intimately. You've done it at a very, very high level. And then you, out of necessity and creativity and just hard work, you go. And it took off and, still going. You guys, that's the kind of guy I think I see that over and over with people running successful businesses. It's like you have the intimate knowledge of the sport. You've done it. You've been there. And then you're at a point where like, okay, I need to do something. What am I going to do? Yeah. And just, you go. Yeah. And it just happens. I just love those stories, man.
Yeah. I mean, my parents, we didn't come from any money. They worked their tails off, like we talked earlier. And and the thing that I want to add to your comments there is that we were around so many really good people back then that just put 110% in. And, I think the passion, like we talked, and plus the people we were involved with, everybody made it happen. Yeah. So,
it just comes down to work.
And a little bit of luck. Yeah.
A little luck, of course.
But no, it does come down to the work, right? And to this day, you asked me, what are the projects I'm working on? I can't stop working. I mean, it's not work to me. It's just what I do every day. Yeah. And I'm up at 5:30 every morning, and I'm I'm done at 10 o'clock at night. And the day goes by like that. Yeah. It's not even like it happened. Yeah. I couldn't even tell you what happened yesterday, to be honest with you. I can't remember. Yeah.
You just live with a phone in your ear pretty much.
I do. Yeah. And, it took me 3 hours to get here this morning, and I never got off the phone.
I can imagine. Yeah. Okay, so you start Answer Racing. You guys are, you're starting with these initial products. It says you're still doing some racing or some R&D for Can-Am. Yeah. So local racing and just kind of helping as those things were coming in? Yeah,
there was a shop called Colby Honda, a guy named Andy Colby, who was involved in motocross from the very beginning of time. And he had a Can-Am shop. He was really close to Can-Am, Bombier in Canada, that developed that bike, and they were looking for some test riders. And so I ended up doing that with him while I was starting Answer Products. Okay. And I ended up going back and forth to Canada to doing testing for those guys. And so I was racing that locally for those guys, and I was trying to build Answer Products at the same time. Yeah. So, yeah.
And so the as you guys are developing this and more products, I mean, you were making plastic, so you had to figure out, mold and all that. How do you do that? Like,
yeah, most, we would find different manufacturers that had that expertise. I mean, Italy was a hub for some of that stuff, and UFO built some of that plastic stuff for us. Okay. and chest protectors and some other things for us. So we weren't really...
So they were just white labeling it.
Yeah, exactly. We would find something, we'd talk the manufacturer into doing that for us, and, we had some momentum. And so our expertise was really in hard parts, cutting and welding and bending and tubing and cutting out stuff. We had a plant that did that, and then we had a sew shop with about 80 gals in it that we could cut and do pants and jerseys and gear bags and gloves, and that was before it was all built in Asia. And so me and Fred sort of just taught ourselves how to do that stuff as we went, and we would hire engineers, and we would hire designers, and we would hire production people, and it's sort of just it didn't just go straight up. I mean, it gradually built over the years, and
So the gear, it's funny looking back at that first catalog, you can see a lot of the JT Racing influence.
Oh yeah.
The big H and just the way it was designed, like it kind of was similar.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah.
But then you guys started bringing in, like you brought in Silkoline lubricants. Were they big in Europe or somewhere else, or how did that come to be?
Well, they were doing okay it's a UK company, so they were based in the UK, and they were doing it there. Then they found somebody in Canada to do it. Someone called me from Canada and said, "Hey Eddie, you want to be in the lubricant business?" And, we never said no to anything. So before I knew it, we had designed bottles in America, and there was a guy named Dave Rogers who was the brainchild of Bel Ray Oil. He was their guy that brought Bel Ray from an aircraft lubricant company to motorcycling, and he did an amazing job. He made it. He really put that together. I called Dave Rogers, who was a bull taco rider, a friend of mine, and I said, "Hey, Dave, you want a job? We're going to bring in Silkoline oil, but we need someone to run that for us. And we'll do this and that." And we worked out a deal, and he left Bel Ray, a nice cushy job, and came to work with us at Answer Products, and he was in charge of Silkoline oil. And it went really, really well.
Yeah.
We had a marketing guy in the UK that was really interested in off-road motorcycling in America. And, we were real successful with it. So it worked really well right out of the gate. We had all these distributors, and it went really good.
Would you say that window of time, too, like really through the 80s,
Yeah.
it was the boom here? At least in my opinion, looking back, I just remember full gate, like multiple gates, not just a full gate. You had to run through heats to get into the motos at a like a Golden State or something.
Right.
Participation was just at an all-time high.
It was.
So I'm not saying it's easy for a company to take off, but if you're good at what you do, there was a big customer base, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there was. And it for sure, it was the sort of the golden era of off-road motorcycling, and so we were in the hub. So if you were in Southern California, you were a brand in Southern California, everybody wanted the product. We had 33 distributors. I'm not talking about dealers. I'm talking about warehouse distributors that distributed Answer and Silkoline and Gearne boots. 33 of them.
Jeez.
33. There's probably only 3 left today. Yeah.
That's crazy.
33.
Yeah.
And we just could not. It was like the printing press couldn't go fast enough, back then. And we talk about a little bit of luck and some good people around you, but the market was just on fire. Yeah, you're right.
You did make good connections, though. Factory Effex Graphics, you started that with Briar Holcomb.
Yeah. Yeah,
another good guy you connected with, and
we were racers against each other, and so he came to me with a box of stickers and said, "Hey, I want to do a graphics company." Well, we never even really thought about that, and he says, "But can we do it with you?" So we ended up doing it together. He had the trademark for the brand. We came up with the brand name Factory Effex. He wanted to call it Sticker Tech, I think.
Okay.
And so our guys came up with Factory Effex, came up with the logo. He trademarked it. And he came to our office every day. We gave him an office, and he was the project manager for Factory Effex. He came up with the ideas, and then our design team would do them. We would have them manufactured, and then we sold them through our distribution.
And back then it wasn't, if I remember right, was there even graphics kits? It was more like background stickers, and the numbers were individually sold, right?
Yeah. There was nothing like this. So if you wanted a sticker, you went and bought the OEM sticker and put it on the side of your gas tank, right? A Honda logo with a wing on it. There was no graphics companies. Briar Holcomb's, his idea turned into what it is today. Okay. I mean, he is the godfather of graphic kits.
Gotcha.
And we built that stuff and here locally in Southern California, and and so that's how Factory Effex was born. And it was through Answer Products that brought it to market. And then when we sold the company, Tucker Rocky didn't want to own Factory Effex or didn't like the licensing deal. I can't remember the details. And so they ended up giving it back to Briar, and he did a distribution agreement. And then Briar is the guy who really built it to what it is today. And although we introduced it, we have to give credit where credit's due. Sure. Briar was the brainchild.
Sure.
And all these graphic companies today wouldn't exist if Breyer probably, he was the guy
first
who
to market with it.
He was, yeah.
It's funny. I mean, younger riders won't even, obviously don't remember this time, but like, you couldn't order a number plate with your number in it. It was like, here's a black background or yellow or white or whatever you want. You got to put that on.
That's right.
And then here's some numbers, and you try to line them up, and they're crooked most of the time. And then it was like dirt digits, 100%.
That's right.
Pen style came along. But.
Yeah. And Breyer was right there on the ground floor. And the factory effects was those background colored die cut, and then the individual numbers in 4-inch and 6-inch and 8-inch and so that's right.
Old days. And you also then connected with Manitou suspension and brought that to the mountain bike world. Who were you working with on that one?
So that was the first employee we ever hired was a guy named Roger Gavin. Actually, he's the third employee, excuse me. My mother was first, my sister, and then Roger was third. Well, we had decided that we wanted to expand into the cycling market. That was our sort of next horizon that we were looking
well, it would have been like early 90s when I remember seeing the first set of mountain bike forks, like with suspension. Everything was rigid prior to that, right?
Yeah. That's right.
So that market was starting to take off.
And so Roger had run into a guy named Doug Bradbury, who was the founder of Manitou, who was the inventor of Manitou. And he, it's a similar story to Factory Effects. And so Doug was in Colorado. Him and his wife were doing this together, but they didn't have two nickels to rub together. And so Roger said, hey, why don't you come talk to Eddie, and why don't we see if there's some type of relationship we can put together? So we did a licensing deal with Manitou. We brought it to the mass market. We put together a whole facility to assemble these things and make the parts for them. And it just exploded. It was just unbelievable time. And RockShox was our competitor who had gotten a little bit of a head start on us. And then Manitou came along, and our team really put together a really comprehensive program. And we were one of the largest OEM suppliers to every mountain bike company you can think of. We had 2 shifts. It was like a little mini Ford Motor Company. I mean, it had a production line that went down. It was an automated production line where there were 50 people in the line. It would start as just parts, and it would go to the next person and the next person and so on, and it'd come all the way around and be put on a pallet and be finished up and shipped to the warehouse. And it was on a little conveyor system. Huh. And Roger was the guy who put that together. Roger Gavin, it was the guy who put that together for us. But we made it happen, and it became the biggest part of our business at that time. Yeah, I mean, it was in the multi-millions of dollars. We were running 2 shifts. Jeez. We were shipping those things as fast as we could make them, and they were going all over the world. And
they were so rudimentary back then. I remember the first bike I bought, a mountain bike, because it had suspension. Suspension. Yeah. It was a specialized rock hopper. Pile of junk.
Right. Yeah, I remember.
But it just had little rubber elastomers in it.
That's right.
That was all it was.
That's how we started.
I think you could change the elastomers out if you wanted it softer or stiffer. But I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I had to have one.
That could have been a Manitou fork, because we started with elastomers, and a yellow one was softer than a pink one, and a pink one was medium, and a red one was hard, and you could mix them and cut them, and there was no oil or air in them. They were, like you said, really simple. But man, did we sell a lot of those.
And look at where that's gone now. I mean, it's crazy, the bicycle world.
Yeah.
That's really neat. Okay, so moving along, you guys are already making handlebars.
Right.
But they were the traditional with the crossbar, right?
Right.
So how do you get the idea for ProTaper? Because this really it was revolutionary.
Yeah.
And I remember it was the DGY Yamaha team, if I remember right, that I first saw him on.
Yeah.
Jimmy Button was a buddy of mine, and he was on that team, so I remember him running them. And I just thought, man, those are neat looking. but they broke a little bit here and there early on. This is the first bar that I at least in mass production, to be built that way without a crossbar.
Yeah. So again, similar story in a lot of respects is we had a relationship with Easton Aluminum, and we were building something called an Alumilite or a Hyperlight mountain bike bar that they had built at Easton Aluminum. They were famous for hockey sticks and baseball bats, right? Mm-hmm. Aluminum baseball bats. Big company. And they had built a mountain bike handlebar. They came to us and said, hey, would you distribute these handlebars? And so we came up with some colors, and we came up with a name, and they were the manufacturer, and we started working with them. And
what were you selling that under, the mountain bike one?
It was an Answer Hyperlight
okay.
mountain bike handlebar, and we were selling the heck out of them. It was a perfect match with the suspension and everything, and we were really growing the bicycle side. So we're down, me and a guy named Scott Boyer. You probably know that name.
I do know the name. I can't think of where.
He was our vice president of products, and we're going on a tour at Easton, and so they're giving us a tour of their plant where these bicycle handlebars are built. And in the bottom area of the factory, there's a big long batting cage, and there's young guys in there, little leaguers, hitting. They're developing baseball bats, and they're hitting these bats, and they've got all this technology connected to it to measure vibration and in the hands when they hit the baseball bat. Okay. These little kids. And Scott Boyer, who's our vice president of products, he's watching, he's asking questions, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to take the vibration out when you hit the ball. They're trying to eliminate by tapering the bat. Obviously, a baseball bat on the outside is tapered, right? Yep. And you have a smaller handle and a bigger where you hit it.
Yeah.
Well, they were tapering the wall thickness of these bats in different areas to try to eliminate all of the vibration. So Scott says, hey, could you manipulate tubing and change the wall thickness in a mustache-shaped style? And the engineer says, yeah, easy. We can do that. So he says, well, wait a second. So you're telling me that if I want to make the wall thickness of a handlebar thicker in some areas and thinner in other areas and even different throughout a mustache shape, you can do that. He says, sure, we can do that. So he says, okay, thanks. Scott Boyer goes back to the office, and he thinks about this a little more, and so he starts developing an oversized handlebar that's 1 1/8 in the center through the bottom of the handlebar, because that's where they're always bending down in that area, and then up, and then you got to have 7/8 to put the throttle and the levers and everything on, and we'll manipulate the wall thickness. So we call it ProTaper, because the wall is tapered. And we introduced that to Yamaha, to the factory team, and that's probably where Jimmy Button's team,
Downers Grove
Yamaha. Thank you. And Yamaha was the first ones that were really interested in the concept, and Suzuki was really interested in the concept. They're racing guys, and Honda, who we had brought in and did a presentation early on in the process, and we went and tested with Ricky Johnson at the time and some other guys, probably not too far from here, out in the hills somewhere, in the dusty hills, because there was no track.
Yeah. And
so ProTaper was born by just taking a tour, Scott Boyer going, I have an idea. And Answer was able to bring that to the marketplace, And we built special triple clamps for that because it wouldn't fit on the regular triple clamps or top clamp. And it really took off for us. And, you know, it took some time, though. It took a few years to get it to market and really get it going.
Yeah, I'm sure that it's so different. People were probably like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to build some trust in it.
You know, what's funny is that the first crossbar pads, you know, riders couldn't get on the bike and get over. There's no crossbar on this thing. What am I doing here?
Yeah.
You know, this is not a street bike. It's not a flat track bike. They couldn't manage. The riders couldn't manage psychologically without that crossbar on there. So we had big giant pads built that would fill up that whole void there. They were really goofy looking.
Yeah,
but,
I remember them. Yeah, now I can't ride with a crossbar. It seems odd to me. And as I lean forward, I bump my chest on it all the time. I'm like, get rid of that. You know, I can't. That's all I'll ride with.
But you know what we were trying to do is we were trying to take the vibration on those big bikes. You know, the vibration on those two strokes was so enormous that your hands would go to sleep.
Yeah.
So we were trying to take that vibration, just like the little kid hitting the baseball. We're trying to take that vibration out. That was the main reason what we were trying to do. And then it turned out they were more comfortable because there was a little more flex in them. So, you know, a little less arm pump.
Yeah.
And so it all sort of worked in our favor. And it made a lot of sense once you could explain it to somebody.
Yeah, it's really neat the way that I love hearing those origin stories. I mean, yeah, if you understand riding and the sport and you're watching that, you could see how you easily would put that together.
Yeah.
Okay. Throughout this, as it's growing, I mean, at a point, you know, it's one thing to run a little shop out of your garage or you're selling a few things. At this point, you guys have now expanded. You're a multi-million-dollar company at this point. There's a lot to running a business that size. How are you managing that? Who's helping you? Did you just hire business managers to come in and handle the books and, you know, develop strategies for business? How did that go for you?
Yeah, and so, you know, it again was like us walking up a set of stairs. So it was one step at a time, right? It didn't just go.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you're right, is that it was pretty clear on the, you know, if you break down the business, is we had a production situation going on. So we needed planners, we needed engineers, and we needed manufacturing management to manage that side of the business. So we went out and found that talent.
Okay.
And you know, we kept an eye on things, but we hired the right people at the right time, and we recognized that we needed people smarter than us to run that kind of a facility. So we had some really good people. And then the other side of the business is the accounting and the finance side of the business. So our CPA helped us find the right controller and the right vice president of finance and the right accounting people. And then the other side is the HR side. All of a sudden we got, you know, we're growing like crazy, and we got 20 people and 50 people and 75 people and 100 people. And so we had to hire an HR.
Payroll
HR, payroll, manager. And so you put that into place. And then we were always, me and Scott and the rest of the team from the very beginning were all product guys at this point, right? So we knew what we wanted to do on the product side, but we had to hire designers and engineers to help us engineer those products. So we had a whole engineering and a whole design. We had a whole design wing with, I don't know, there must have been 8 people, 10 people in that area, you know, at the very end. And so we went from drawing things on pieces of paper to the first Apple, and whoa, what are we going to do with this? How you know, we had to find someone to turn the damn thing on and help us draw lines on it. And so we went to that whole computer error. And then, you know, then we needed to, as we built this infrastructure, we had to really work on the sales and the marketing side to help us now drive more business to be able to support this production machine and this infrastructure that we had. So it all just happened sort of one step at a time with the right people. And They were honest people that, we had lots of challenges, right? It wasn't as smooth as I might make it sound,
right.
But overall, it went really good, and we ended up selling the company to the parent of Tucker Rocky.
Okay.
And then I stayed for 8 years after that, and then it took it to the next level because now we had more capital, we had more structure, and that was a different era.
Before you sold it, was there ever a moment where you got overwhelmed with the overhead? Was there ever a time where you're like, there's so much, like, I've grown this to so big, there's so many people that I'm responsible for. Like, did that ever get overwhelming to you?
Yeah, it did. And, I sort of fast forwarded through talking about all these different things and phases. But, Fred Hoblet, who was my original partner, probably 5 or 6, 7 years into it, he said, Eddie, this is too complicated. Yeah. So I ended up buying him out of that business, right? And at that time, he was the product guy. And so it got overwhelming, and then after he left, now I'm on my own. And then talk about overwhelming. And I can remember saying, what the F am I doing here? What was I thinking?
Yeah.
And so there were a lot of challenges. I mean, there were times when, I didn't know if we could continue because we couldn't make the payroll. We had some major players, customers that we depended on for cash flow go bankrupt in a certain era. And we had 3 in 1 year. And that's when Fred said, hey, this is too complicated for me. But I had nothing else. I had nowhere to go.
Ships were burned at that point for you.
I had to make it happen, right? So but man, there were times where I said many, many times, holy crap, how am I going to get from today to tomorrow?
Yeah.
And from tomorrow to the end of the week? How am I going to make the payroll? But somehow we figured it out. But man, there were a lot of scary times. There's still scary. Now I'm 110 years old now today, and there's still scary times. And I've done this a bunch of times already, but it's just part of the cycle of business, I think.
Yeah, it's something I'm learning later in life, going from racing to just kind of a media job to fire, which is very secure. I love that job, but and then now starting my own company and trying to expand it and grow and learning. That's why I'm asking these questions, because there's times when I'm like, it just can be a little overwhelming. And I'm like, what am I doing? I don't have any, I don't have a background in this. Like I'm in over my head here. I dove into the deep end like an idiot, but then as you work through it, it's, you sort of accept that challenge, and then it feels good when you keep stepping up the ladder, like you said.
Well, you've done really well.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
And I followed your career, from racing that Kawasaki for Mitch to today. And I think we have a lot of similar experiences probably. We could probably sit here and talk for another 10 hours.
Yeah.
And I think that you learn as you go.
Yeah.
And,
okay. I like to hear that, because I think maybe I'm missing something. Am I
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's lots of guys. We just had Michael Lieb on here, who I'm sure well.
Yeah.
And what he's doing with canvas and the jersey and things, it's like he's in the deep end.
Yeah.
And so we talk a lot okay,
Yeah, he'll call now and then. Yeah, I talk to Michael. I know his dad and mother. And,
okay, so you guys sell this thing. Was that did it feel like kind of giving your baby away, or were you like, oh, God, I'm glad to be out from underneath that?
Yeah,
or a little both, maybe.
There were different emotions at different times, and we sold it for a decent amount of money, and from that perspective, you shed all the personal guarantees, and everything gets paid off, and you have some money in the bank, and I had a young family at the time, and I think it was we did it. It was the first sort of feeling, and then I think you wake up and you're not you don't have as much control as you had the day before you sold it. And now things start to change a little bit, and it's a corporate environment and lots of people. But I sort of embraced it all because I was still, and I'm even today still learning. I was like a sponge, and now all of a sudden I had another group of people around me that were teaching me new business concepts and building AOPs, annual operating plans, and how to do that and how to analyze financial statements. And now I'm involved with some finance people that have a much larger company. And so I really embraced that, and I really learned a lot. And I had a 3-year contract to stay as the president of Answer Products. And I left after 8 years. So I stayed for another 8 years, and really, really enjoyed that time. Because I could go to sleep at night knowing that I wasn't the only one responsible for if the payroll got done. I had other people to help me with that. But nothing changed in terms of my attitude towards the people in the company and the company itself. And so it was a great time, and I enjoyed going to board meetings in Indianapolis and doing bank presentations for these guys. And our company was just growing like a weed, right? We were the darlings of their portfolio. We were doing better than anyone else. They had paint companies, and they had automotive companies, and they had real estate portfolio, and little old Answer Products is just sort of cranking, right? And so it was a fun time. And we were able to really take it to the next level because these guys brought a whole nother layer of sophistication and business experience. And me and Scott Boyer and others, we fed off of that. Yeah. And so it was a really good sort of combination.
Was there a time, I see a lot of times when a company that is a brand will get bought by somebody bigger. Yeah. And they don't understand the culture or really the sport, and you watch that brand just nosedive. And I've seen it happen. I'm not going to name any names, but multiple brands, and it kind of breaks your heart. And I imagine as somebody who, if you built that brand yourself and then you watch it just being run incorrectly, not saying that's what they did, but I'm just saying, was there concern about that for you? Or I guess you were still at the helm, really.
Yeah, so. Not at the time, because you're right, and the reason we sold it to who we sold it to was because they promised us that we're family-owned corporate holding company. We're not interested in selling it. We're interested in leaving it exactly where it's at. We're interested in leaving the management where it's at. And what we're going to do is add capital, and we're going to add support. And so and they did exactly what they said they were going to do. I mean, I was there for 8 years. That sounds like a long time to me right now. And so now I never have any concerns about this. And it was the first time I had sold anything also. So I was a little naive. And at the same time, they did everything they said they were going to do. It was LDI was the parent company, Lacey Diversified Industries in Indianapolis. They weren't motorcycle people. They didn't know anything about motorcycling. They let us do what we wanted to do.
Yeah, that's perfect.
But we were performing. Yeah. We were giving them a huge return on their investments.
So that has since Tucker-Rocky has since dissolved. Am I correct? Or sold out?
Yeah. And that what you were talking about a few minutes ago is what ultimately happened to them is they went through multiple ownership changes, and I couldn't even really follow it and explain it to you right now. It was sort of a complicated time, and they went through different ownerships and different things and mergers and this and that, and they ended up going into bankruptcy. And they had equity groups that I think ruined that company. And so they ended up, not too long ago, I can't remember exactly when, it was probably right around the pandemic, they ended up getting in real trouble. And they ended up selling the company to turn 14, who maybe you know of now.
Yeah.
They're a distributor in Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania,
Yep.
but they do have some offices in Texas because that's where Tucker-Rocky was headquartered. So they've taken over all those product lines, and they're a great company, and they have a really great story as well. But so they took over all of the products, and Tucker-Rocky, as we knew it, is gone now today, and they were the #1 distributor in the United States. And I don't know what their total revenue was, but it was huge, huge, huge. And so
interesting. Yeah, and do you think that's partly to do with the pandemic dumped rocket fuel on this, but the kind of the advent of online stuff, because like the motorsport.coms, you're not necessarily going to a dealer. Does that affect it, or was it just mismanagement? Was it overextension?
I think it's the leadership not really understanding the business that they're in, because they're removed in their investment people, and they're not they don't really understand the marketplace. I think it's everybody got a little drunk during the pandemic, where motorcycling and bicycling, all of the demand went just straight crazy because you couldn't do anything else. You couldn't go out to dinner. You couldn't go to Hawaii. You couldn't do nothing. So everybody went and bought motorcycles and bicycles, and I think everybody got a little bit drunk. They thought, well, this will just keep going.
Yeah.
And the largest companies in our industry, I'm surprised that they would not really read the tea leaves and understand really what was happening.
Yeah, this
and
is
this
artificial.
is short-lived.
Yeah.
And a lot of people got in trouble. And then the post-pandemic came, and I think the political climate and the world environment, everybody got nervous post-pandemic, and you had people not doing motorcycling and bicycling, all this inventory, and then the sales just went straight down. And a lot of large companies, including Tucker-Rocky, I think couldn't survive through that. And so, inventory is a dirty word in this type of business. And you have too much inventory and you don't have cash, people get real nervous.
Yeah, understandably so.
Yeah.
Understandably so. Okay, last question here, and we'll take a break. This was after you had completed your 8 years at Tucker. That's when you started Valencia Sports Group, or was this in the interim there?
No, I retired from Answer Products and business.
Okay.
And it was time for me to go. The company was just transformed into a much bigger entity and a lot of engineering, and we had a major recall on Manitou forks. The front wheels of the forks, the tabs that the axle would go through started breaking off. And we had a major problem on our hands. And we couldn't tell which were good forks and which were bad forks, but there were tens of thousands of forks in the marketplace.
Oh, boy.
So we had to go through a major recall with the Consumer Product Safety Commission, all involved, huge deal, right? We had people falling off of bicycles and ripping their noses off, and you could go 50 feet and your front wheel would fall off. But we couldn't tell you which bike would it fall off of.
You couldn't trace it to a certain manufacturing run.
We didn't have batch tracking, lot tracking. And so there were a lot of things missing in our manufacturing process, and it came very clear to me that, boy, we need another guy to this thing has gotten huge at this point, and I'm the president, but I don't own the company. And I went and met with Andre Lacey, and we went and sat on the 50-yard line of the Colts game, had a hot dog and a beer, and we decided that, Eddie, it was time for you to retire, right? And it was like I was like a dog stuck in a lake trying to get to the edge of the edge of the lake, and I just, someone rescued me here, right? So he gave me a lifeline and said, "Hey, Eddie, I think we should we should find someone to help us here. And what do you think about retiring? I said, you know what, Andre, that's a good idea. I said, so we orchestrated, sitting there watching the football game, we orchestrated my retirement there, which worked out really well for me.
Was it more of a relief or a little bittersweet?
It was a relief at the moment.
Yeah.
But it all happened so fast that it was like, holy shit, what was I thinking here? Do I, because I was still pretty young at the time. And, man, I thought it would take about 6 months for this transition. It took about 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah. It was like, get your crap and get out of here.
I'm in the conference room, right? And they're bringing we couldn't bring everybody into the conference room because there was 200 people downstairs. So we brought them in waves of like 40 at a time. There were 5 meetings that day. And I was at one end of the table. Andre Lacey was at the other end of the table. And then everybody would crowd around. And these were people that I went to their weddings. I went to their parents' funerals. I went to the I knew everybody by first name.
Yeah.
I knew all 205 people. When their kid needed something for school, we took care of them. And it was a huge, giant family. And these were kids that I grew up with in the neighborhood that worked with me from the time they left high school. They were working with us at Answer Products. And so it was really a community. It wasn't like a company. It wasn't like
corporate. Yeah.
It was our neighborhood. All worked together. And I'm going to get emotional talking about this, is that they bring the first 40 people in and Andre would start talking, and this is Eddie's last day, and that we want to recognize him, and we want we know how important he is to everybody in this room, but he'll still be around as a consultant. But a guy named Lawrence Danter, who I had hired, was the vice president of operations. They were giving him the job of president. And so he was in the room with us. And a lot of tears, a lot of people in shock. And at this point, it's really setting in now for me. And I'm going, there's no way this can be my last physical day here in my office down the hallway. And so we went through all 5 of those meetings, and I took my little, just like you see on TV, I took my little box, right, with my little stuff in it, and I walked out of the parking lot, and that was the end.
Wow.
And they did ask me to come back and do some different things, and I worked for about a year, but in the meantime, I worked at Valencia. I started Valencia Sport Group.
And that was 661, Sunline, Tag, Filtron. How do you get all,
Started the same way as we talked earlier. It started with one brand, and then we started walking back up that stairs again over, and we did exactly what we did with Answer Products. It didn't grow as much, but it
because the housing crash was 08, so the economy
was very similar. Yeah. So, but when I left, we left again at the right time, and we started at the right time. So, yeah.
Yeah, good timing. Jeez.
And we could talk about that a little bit more when maybe after.
And 661 was the initial brand you started with?
Well, it was Axo Cycling.
Ah, okay.
And so I ended up retiring from Answer. That lasted about a month. And we had an idea for Axo Cycling. Jim Hale, who was a fierce competitor of mine throughout the years with Axo Moto, I called him up and I said, hey, I have an idea for just a cycling company. Shoes and gloves. That's all we wanted to do. Do you think Remo in Italy would be up for that? He was the founder of Axo. Uh-huh. Jim was the brainchild of Axo in America. And Jim, do you want to be a partner? He said, sure. And so we put it together as Axo Cycling.
Okay.
And we did a licensing agreement with Italy, and we developed all of the products here in America and had them built in Asia, and we started as Axo Cycling. That was the first brand of Valencia Sport Group.
Okay. This is a good place to pause. Let's take a quick break. This is your Troy Lee Designs Timeout, guys. Stick around. We're going to be back with more Eddie Cole. In the motocross graphics game, customization is key. TBD MX can bring any of your design concepts to life. Simply fill out a design request and they will email you a concept for approval. TBD MX also has a showroom full of designs to choose from on their site. Whether you just want number plate backgrounds or a fully custom kit, the TBD MX crew has you covered. Visit tbdmx.com today and get the look you want.
There is a reason every AMA championship in the past decade was won on Dunlop tires. They are the best. Choose the best performing tire and a brand that has never wavered in their support of our sport. Choose Dunlop. Pro Circuit. Pro Circuit products are designed with one goal in mind: winning. Through passion and hard work, Pro Circuit has operated the most successful 250 team in the history of the sport. They use that same formula when developing exhaust, engine, and suspension parts for every brand. When only the highest level of performance is acceptable, trust Pro Circuit.
At Seat Concepts, our handcrafted seats are made in America. Visit us online or call today. Seat Concepts. Ride the world with us.
Something from nothing. That's what Nihilo Concepts is about. It starts with a spark, an idea, a concept, which leads to a design, and finishes with engineered excellence with the highest quality products created with durability in mind. All our products are made in the USA at our state-of-the-art facility in Stuart, Florida. Whether you are a weekend warrior, ride for fun, or at the highest level of competition, Nihilo Concepts offers innovative titanium, aluminum, and carbon fiber parts for your dirt bike. We offer a wide variety of products that you can customize to your liking. Browse our site for foot pegs, brake tips, engine components, specialty tools, frame grip tape, lever grips, carbon fiber components, motor stands, our secondary on-switch, plus much more. Head to NihiloConcepts.com and see for yourself why factory teams like Red Bull KTM, Rockstar Husqvarna, Troy Lee Designs Gas, Orange Brigade, Club MX, KLM Gas, and some of the fastest riders in the world choose Nihilo Concepts.
The inspiration for Element, interestingly, was from working with my coaches. I sat down with those guys. I'm like, hey, here's what I'm doing. What should I do? And they looked at everything and they were like, you need more electrolytes, specifically sodium. And like most people do when they have a coach, I ignored what their advice was. You're kind of like, well, I salt my food, I'm probably good. And it took me at least a year to finally listen to these guys and do what they asked me to do. And it was just a switch flip. It was just so obvious that this was the critical missing piece to the story. And it's ironic that this salt piece was like the linchpin, the keystone to making all the rest of that work.
Arc levers are the most durable and reliable on the market. They have the most premier class championships of any aftermarket lever. Arc is the only ratio adjustable folding lever on the planet, and their patented design is precision machined in-house right here in the USA. The occasional tip over on the bike is inevitable. Broken levers? Those are optional. Visit arclevers.com today. Toyota has become synonymous with reliability, and for good reason. Toyota vehicles are consistently rated #1 by Consumer Reports and in customer satisfaction. Partner that with a dealership that wholeheartedly supports the motocross community, and it's crystal clear where you should buy your next car or truck, Toyota of Redlands. As a major partner of the Borax Yamaha racing team, as well as personal sponsor of many factory racers and a premier partner of the Whiskey Throttle Show, Toyota of Redlands is heavily invested in moto. Check out all the new and used Tundras, Tacomas, and other vehicles at Toyota of Redlands today. Reliability, performance, and customer service. Get it all at Toyota of Redlands. Need to replace something on your bike that's worn out? Look no further than ProX. These guys aim to make everything OEM quality or better at an affordable price. And they've also got some new products coming. So right now, chains, sprockets, anything inside the engine internally, air filters. If it wears out, ProX makes it, and they make it at a quality level that's OEM or better. And they've got some new things coming that are awesome. A complete engine rebuild kits for the Polaris RZR 800s. Need to replace something on your bike that's worn out? Look no further than ProX. These guys aim to make everything OEM quality or better at an affordable price. And they've also got some new products coming. So right now, chains, sprockets, anything inside the engine internally, air filters. If it wears out, ProX makes it, and they make it at a quality level that's OEM or better. And they've got some new things coming that are awesome.
The Specialized Science Club introduces the Levo 4. An electric mountain bike so advanced, it borders on sorcery. Together, you and the Levo 4 become a harmonious hybrid of organic and synthetic. It's a rider-enhancing machine that transforms you into a cycling cyborg. 720 watts of power and 111 Newton meters of torque, amplifying your mortal muscles, allowing you to bend space and time to your will. All channeled through futuristic suspension, with honed geometry, granting super control while traversing extreme terrain at hyper speed. With supernatural power delivery, you'll have super traction to conquer climbs where others spin out. And you'll tire, if at all, before the bike does, thanks to the Levo 4's super range.
Every good podcast show has got to have an underwear sponsor, right? Well, we went right to the top, Ethica. These guys make the best underwear. If you haven't tried a pair, you don't know what you're missing. Your life hasn't even started yet. So try a pair of Ethicas on. Go to Ethica.com. Use our code WHISKEY20. Get you 20% off. And give all of your nether regions a break, man. It's vacation time for the boys. These things are comfortable. You're riding. Your butt's not going to get all chafed. These things are awesome. And guess what? They don't just make underwear. No. Tees, hats, beanies, sweatshirts, shorts for kids, ladies, toddlers, old people, everybody. You name it. They make them. You know what else they make? Moto gloves. I didn't even know that. I just found it out. So get over to Ethica.com. Check them out. These guys are awesome. Whiskey20. Use our code. Don't cheat me now. Get 20% off and put your buns in the best undies around. Ethica.com. Welcome back, everybody. That was your Troy Lee Designs timeout. Go check out Troy Lee Designs. They've got all of their new 26 line coming out, mountain bike gear, helmet paint. If you guys are looking to get your name, number, or a complete custom paint job, it's all there. Blending art and speed, as they like to say. Troy's a genius with all that stuff. So check those guys out. Okay, so you got, jumping back into your story here, you get the Valencia Sport Group going. You said that built a little slower than Answer did initially. I think maybe some of that has to do with just the era, right? Like you built that during such a boom.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
This was a little slower to move, huh?
Right. Yeah, it was. And we started out just in cycling, and then once we decided to do 661, that was introduced on the motorcycle side because my son Chad was racing at the time.
Okay.
So we had to do something in motorcycling.
Sure.
We started out with body protection, upper chest protector, and then one thing led to another, and then we expanded 661 into dirt jumping BMX style body protection. We expanded the motorcycle protection, and and that really is what took the company, really got the company going, was 661. So we had Axo Cycling, shoes and gloves, and then we added in 661, and we expanded that again in motorcycling and bicycling, and so we were off to a really good start at that point.
And then you guys sold that in 2007?
So we sold that right before.
The timing was sweet.
The timing was perfect. To be really honest with you, we're better off being lucky than good. So we had some people come along that wanted to buy that company from us, right? And so we had 2 or 3 people sort of really, really interested. And this was before the giant meltdown in the beginning of 2008, where the mortgage thing all imploded. We had sold the company Thanksgiving weekend 2007, and the world changed 6 months later.
Boy.
And we got a premium for the company because there were 2 or 3 people interested all at the same time, which is like the perfect storm if you want to sell a company. So we were doing really well. We had an office in Canada, one in Europe, and we had our office here in America. And it was Valencia Sport Group Europe, Canada, and America. We sold the whole kit caboodle. We packaged everything up, sold it to one buyer, and it was a big deal.
More than what you sold Answer for?
A lot more.
Really?
Even though the company was much smaller. The dollars were different. It was a different time. And so the overall package was much, much better. I'm not smart enough to go back and figure out the value between when we sold Answer Products and when we sold Valencia Sport Group, but Valencia Sport Group was a good deal for us. Everybody that was involved. It wasn't just me, but there were other people involved.
Everybody made out clean.
Everybody did really well. Yeah, so it was a good deal.
So then, did you do, in 2010 you launched Matrix Concepts. What was that? What were you doing in that interim there?
Well, I was still the president of Valencia Sport Group.
Okay, you stayed on.
Yeah, so we went from Axo Cycling to, just to back up a hair, to 661, and then we acquired Sunline and put that in with it, and then Filtron was an abandoned trademark that we brought back to market. So we had 4 brands in our portfolio: Axo, 661, Sunline, and Filtron, and then we sold that company.
Okay.
And so I stayed as their president for a couple of years, and that was sold to an equity group that didn't understand motorcycling.
And add into that the economy that nosedived after 2008.
Yeah, and then everybody panicked. They also had owned One Industries. They had bought them first, and then they bought us second.
Okay, I know who you're talking about. I remember.
The company was called RLH, Reardon, Lewis, and Hayden, and they were just money equity group that was just making investments, and so so
crazy that they would do that in an industry where you don't know anything. I mean, that's rule 1, right? I mean,
well, and we talked about that, when we first sat down talking, is that that is one of those examples of an equity group getting involved, not understanding a couple things outside of the motorcycle industry happening economically, and you had 2 great companies, One Industries and Valencia Sport Group, that were both doing exceptionally well at that time. They paid a premium for those companies, and then before they knew it, within years, there were fire sales going on. So, it's crazy.
Okay, so tell me about Matrix Concepts. What was the genesis of that, and tell me about that.
Yeah. So, short story is that things are sort of winding down at Valencia Sport Group. My 2 boys, Chad and Cameron, they're in college, and they community college, and they have a business class, and they have to build a business plan. So I take the model that we've used for some of these companies and brands that we've built, and I help them with their homework.
Okay.
And to be honest, I don't think they got a very good grade. So I guess my education really kicked in at that moment, right? So we didn't get that good of a grade between the three of us. And we were visiting our friends in Canada, the Sharons, Rick Sharon, who's a sort of a lifelong friend, grew up racing motorcycles with, and he was always our distributors in Canada. We went up to visit them.
Son Brady, right?
Brady Sharon, yeah, exactly. And somehow the business plan comes up in the conversation while we're with them in Canada, in Vancouver, on vacation. And one thing leads to another, and Rick says, hey, well, why don't we take the plan? Let's build a company. And Chad and Cameron say, yeah, Dad, come on, let's do it. So they talked me into doing it while we were there, just by chance. All these things happen by chance. And we build Matrix Concepts, and I'm working 7 days a week, 20 hours a day on it. We put everything together. We come up with the ownership, and it's Chad and Cameron and me and Brady Sharon and Brad McLean. And so we put everything together. They run the operation in Canada. They form the company there. We form the company here in Southern California for the worldwide effort. And it's born. And so it's now, we got some OEMs to do, to support the product line. And we had all the race teams doing it. Instantly we had, because we had friends at Yamaha and Suzuki and Kawasaki, and everybody helped us. And so before we knew it, as a brand new company in a little segment, we really almost reinvented that segment, because we had a whole product line of garage and track necessities, and you could customize the stuff was our key to success. So we could go to Kawasaki and say, hey, we can supply the race team. We can supply you, we can supply stands with your riders' names and numbers on them. We can supply ramps and tie downs and work mats and gas cans and toolboxes. And what do you think? They said, we're in. Nobody else is doing that for us. We didn't have to pay them a nickel. We just supply them with product and we made it easy for them.
Yeah.
And we helped their pit area. And Parts Unlimited, Tucker Rocky, Western Power Sports. Well, no, not Western Power Sports, excuse me. Tucker Rocky and Parts Unlimited took the product line on and distributed it. And we had friends internationally, and we had a company. Boom, we're going.
And how has it done? I know you guys, I think during COVID, I checked in with you about it. Maybe it was during Hannah's show, but you said you had a bunch of containers kind of stuck.
Yeah.
There was a lot of shipping issues that came out of all that, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it had its ups and downs, like every one of these brands that we worked on or companies that we worked on. In the beginning, things went really pretty well, and then things got a little bit tough. And so the pandemic sort of made a mess out of everything, in that we couldn't get enough product during the pandemic. And then post-pandemic, we had too much inventory like everybody else, but not to that extent that everybody else had. And so the company sort of, I would say that, in the first several years of the company, it struggled to be profitable and to get up and get going. And we didn't experience that same thing with other projects. And so it took a lot of capital to sort of keep it going. And in the last, since the pandemic, the company has done extremely well. We've got some new OEM customers, and things have gone really, really well. So the company's doing really well today, thank goodness.
And is your intention to hopefully kind of pass it on to your kids, or are you guys looking to ultimately sell it and kind of step out like you've done with these other ones? I mean, really, it seems like from a financial perspective, that's always the smartest way, right? Build a ton of value in it and sell it off.
Well, that was the original plan, and I guess it's still the original plan. Is that I think that you sort of just have to time those things right with the right valuation. We would have liked to have probably gone 10 years, and we're 15 years into this already. And our intentions were to grow it and sell it, just like we had with the other things. But we haven't been in the position to do that. The market has not been in a position to find the right buyers for something like this at the point. We're not at the volume we need to be, but now we're just starting to get there. So it'll depend on what Chad and Cameron and Brad and Brady want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sort of there helping them every day, and but I think it's really up to them to decide what they want to do with it. And so, but they originally, everybody had bought into the idea that let's go, let's build it, let's sell it, like you were saying.
Is there an upside to hanging on to it and just running it, like making it a lifelong company?
There could be. I think there very well could be. I mean, that might be what ends up happening, but it's going to have to, it's gone through a lot of transition. Our parent company is called Group 6. And the reason is because there was literally 6 brands in this portfolio. There was Matrix we started with, and then there was Next Components, which was a product that we started but never really got traction with because we had the opportunity to buy back tag metals from the people that bought tag metals in One Industries. So we purchased it back, and so now we're tag metals. And then we merged with Atlas Braces, and we merged with 7IDP, which was a mountain bike apparel line. And then we had something called 1.7 Cleaning Solutions. So that's how 6 company brands came to become Group 6.
Okay.
That didn't work out like we had planned. And so we started eliminating things, and we separated things back. So we took 7IDP on the mountain bike side and gave that to a different management team. Atlas Braces went back to Brady in Canada, which we're still involved with, so they're doing that. And now Group 6 is focused on just one brand, Matrix.
Okay.
Yes.
So but you're still involved with a ton of brands. I know for 7, you are on the board of directors, or at least a consultation board.
Yeah, it's not that formal, but work as a consultant for them.
And you're still involved with Gearne, as you said. Is there other brands you're still working with? Obviously 101 Bikes.
Yeah, there are, and there's a bunch that I'm no longer involved with, but over time I've sort of done consulting work for a bunch of different brands throughout the last 10 years or so. I had this bright idea that I would, in my spare time, I would do some consulting work, right? Yeah. So people have found me or whatever, and I probably taken on more than I can chew, but I like projects. I like building things. So there's too many to name, but today I'm doing consulting work with 7 for them for the last several years or so. I've been involved with them, and Gearne has come back and said, hey, we want you to help us, in America, and so we're doing that. And then 101 Bikes, is about 10 months old now or so, 10 or 12 months old. And that's a line of e-bikes that we're doing with Costco, and we're selling them through independent bicycle retailers and motorcycle retailers. And that's been a really fun project, working with Jeremy McGrath and getting to know him better. And Bob Harrow, who's a
legend,
a legend in BMX. He's the designer of the project. And so we put together a team of people for that. And, that's turned into a huge project for us and takes up a lot of my time today.
Does it?
And I enjoy that a lot. And my two boys are involved in everything that I'm doing. So they have their own shares in different things that we're doing. And so all that's happening. And Mobius knee braces, we brought that to market. Ryan Villapoto brought that to me, and he met a guy named Darren Fleming, who was the original designer of that brace. They brought it to me, and I looked at it and instantly said, "Whoa, that'll work." And so we put together a company. We brought in some other people. Scott Watanabe is our CEO, and that company's doing really, really well.
Scott's a great guy. I've dealt with him a little bit with those, braces in the past, or the wrist braces are really cool. So neat. Let me ask you this question. This will be our Seat Concepts hot seat question. You guys need seat covers, complete seats, wet weather seats, comfort seats, anything specialized. Check out Seat Concepts. Great stuff. With 7, I always feel like the thing that would make this company go is to get James more involved in it. And I'm so surprised that he does the broadcast, but man, he seems to be kind of just elusive in the sport outside of that.
Yeah.
I'm telling you something you probably hear a lot, but
James is James is a really interesting guy. He's so smart, and he, like me, he is a motorcycle guy, but to sit in and talk about business with no real business experience or education in business, because he grew up, as we all know, riding a motorcycle. His intuition and his intelligence, and you probably see that on the commentary, and because he's quick to react, and he's organized when he talks, and he's really a good business guy, and but I've been working with him and other people in that organization for several years, and I still haven't quite figured him out. And to me, it seems so obvious. There are from the I'm part of the internal trust, or part of the internal group, and I think he could do more things to help the brand get to the next level. And I'm not sure why I'm not sure why he's not more engaged, to be really honest. And so I think he could help the brand a lot more than he does.
Yeah, I mean, he's just such a, he's like a unicorn almost, you know what I mean? If you see him, he's got fans everywhere, I mean, It just seems crazy he doesn't come out, and this company is his company, really, So he's the guy that can really push it down the field. And
I think that, I mean, honestly, not trying to be controversial is, I think he looks at things differently. I think that from my perspective, he could do more to help the brand, but there is some reason why he's comfortable with his position and the way he is managing that side of it. And I'm not sure I understand it.
He does seem very private. I've reached out to him multiple times about coming on here or doing something, and I don't even get a response. And you don't, like I said, I just think he's very careful about where he spends his time. And I get that. He's got kids, and I totally get it. I respect it. But I think I'm speaking for the whole sport when it's like we be cool to see him involved a little more.
And he, I just, he is really a good human being, and I've gotten to know him really pretty well. but there are things that, you don't understand about James, but one thing I can tell you, he's really smart.
Yeah.
And
he's funny.
And he is funny, and he is a good human being, and he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And so the other things that the way he handles things, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just I don't know. We'll ever know. But you can't find a better guy, human being, for sure.
You sit. Do you still sit on the AMA Hall of Fame board, or that you kind of stepped out of that role?
Well, I sit on. I don't sit on the AMA Hall of Fame Museum board because that board has been dissolved. So now that's been absorbed. I did sit on that board for many years, and it was absorbed by the governing board of the AMA. So that board is just one board now.
Okay.
And I had a few too many projects going on, so that was good for me.
Yeah.
But today I sit on the AMA Motocross Hall of Fame committee.
Okay.
And so
those are different.
Yeah. And so that's a specific committee that looks at the nominations for who's going to go into the Motocross Hall of Fame.
Gotcha. Okay.
Or the AMA Hall of Fame, but it's under the motocross category. So we have our own board that consists of me, Davey Coombs. Shoot, I'm going to leave a name out here. I'm going to get in trouble.
Oh boy.
Rick Doherty.
Okay.
Rob Bidos. And that's it.
Okay.
Brock Glover, who's our chairman.
Okay.
So.
And so you guys are in charge of motocross. They also obviously have like flat track and road race, everything else.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they have government relations and industry people. So our group is responsible for looking at the applications and making a recommendation to the overall board who might be moved to consider to be a nominee.
Gotcha.
And then those nominees are voted on by the people that are allowed to vote. That's the whole group
members
committee. Yeah. If you're a lifetime member, and
cool. So, okay.
Yeah. That's a fun project.
And you've also you've sat on a bunch of boards and been involved with a lot of charity work up in Santa Clarita.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Muscular Dystrophy Association, the Boys and Girls Club, Valencia Bank and Trust, Henry Mayo Newhall Memorial Hospital. You kind of done a lot of things up there locally, which is really neat. You don't see a lot of people get involved locally, and I think there's a lot of value in that, in really embracing your own community. And you've been there since you were born. So
yeah, I mean, I feel like Abe Lincoln. I've been there so long. So I went to school in a house. They didn't even have a school when we first moved.
Is that
there.
right?
Yeah. There was a cul-de-sac with 5 houses. They knocked the walls out, and that was the grade school in the second, third, fourth grade. I've been there so long, and like anything else, you build relationships, and people ask you to do certain things, and I've been honored and feel really privileged to be able to give back to that community, and and so it's like that. It's like business, It's like its own little business. The community is like another business project, and one step leads to another step that leads to another step.
Yeah.
And so, the Boys and Girls Club, such a great organization for kids to go after school and to be able to have somewhere to go and get some guidance and not just stay home and get in trouble.
Yeah.
The hospital, I spent my fair share in the emergency room growing up riding motorcycles. We have our own exam room in the hospital today. That's the Cole family. It's sort of funny for me because it's got our name on the door, right, and or a plaque that's next to the door. And I wasn't feeling well a couple months back, and they wheeled me in there. I had high blood pressure and I wasn't feeling good, and so they wheel me in the emergency room because I'm on this little list here, so they really take care of me when I get there. And I'm laying there and I'm thinking, and I asked the nurse, I say, hey, can you tell me what the plaque says on the outside of this thing? And she walks out there and she says, it's the Cole Cole Family Trust, it says. And she looks at my chart and she looks and I asked her the question because I thought that was the room I was in, but I wasn't sure and I was curious. And so anyway,
you're chuckling, going, yeah. I paid for this room through my ER visits.
Yeah, so the hospital is a really important project for me, and so I spent a lot of time there on that board, and I'm just now on the advisory board, so I'm not on the full board anymore. I just all of those projects in Santa Clarita have been really great projects for me, and so I feel really privileged and honored to be able to do that. And so it's been really cool.
Well, I love to see that. I mean, one, you've done well, so you can help others, and you're not just hoarding money to yourself or whatever. And this is your community, man. Like you grew up there. It's just neat to see. I did see something in the news the other day about a new mountain bike park that's getting launched up there. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I wonder if Eddie's involved in this.
Yeah, I'm not.
You're not? Okay.
And they haven't found my phone number yet. So, and I'm going to hide. But that's been in the works for a long time. And it's gone through a couple different hands. And it sounds, I've read the same article probably that you've read. And it sounds like that's going to come to fruition. And there was already a park up there. And it may be an expansion of that. And I hadn't followed it that closely. But yeah, I hope it all works out really well.
We'll just look up Eddie Cole there in Santa Clarita. Reach out. Yeah. No, I don't want to get you more work on your plate, but that's pretty neat for folks up there. I mean, there's always been kind of bootleg places you can find trails, but we have a place here at Vail Lake locally that is amazing. Yeah. And to have a spot like that, it's, if you're a mountain bike fan, I mean, it's a game changer. So really cool. Yeah. Outside of work, what do you do? What do you guys enjoy doing?
Yeah, work and work
and work and more work.
I mean, today I have two grandchildren. Ford, he's 2 years old, and he's amazing. And Emery, who's 4 years old, and so I enjoy spending some time with them. And on the way here, my wife called and said, "Hey, my daughter and her husband, they want to go to the Rose Bowl this weekend. There's some football game that I don't know anything about, and they want to spend the night." And my wife's saying, "Can we go? Can we spend the night at their house? And can we take the kids here and there?" And she's trying to sell me on it as I'm driving down the freeway here, trying to avoid things in the freeway. And I said, sure, I would love to do that. So she doesn't have to sell me too hard because I really enjoy them. Yeah. And
that seems
I
like
enjoy my family.
It seems like grandparenting is the sweet spot,
Yeah.
You get all the fun stuff and the good stuff, and then
they get to go home.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. But people talk about their grandkids, and you go, if you don't have them, and whatever. It's like talking about your kids, and how important they are. Yeah. And you can't explain that to another person that's not a parent. They don't get it. They don't get it. Yeah. And grandkids, I didn't think I would even feel like this, but man, it's just like the same experience over again, having my own kids, and man, I just love them to death. And so they're a lot of fun. Chad and Cameron like to play a little bit of golf. Yeah, that's like working for me, so I don't know that's that great, but I like to garden. I like my house. I like my yard. And so I spend time there, and I'm really meticulous about where everything's at. And the gardener comes with his 3 guys, and then I got to clean up after he leaves and straighten everything out and fix it the way I want. But I like the garden. I'm not a big traveler, and but we'll do a little bit of that, family vacations, and so I'm a pretty
any mountain biking
guy.
or motorcycling at all?
Motorcycling. What's funny is that The last race I rode in was the last time I probably rode a motorcycle.
Is that right?
I don't own one. I never had interest after I was riding. People will bug me to ride something here or there now and then, but I couldn't even tell you when I rode a motorcycle. I'm embarrassed to say that to all these people here that I make a living out of doing this, but I don't ride. Yeah. And I'm not a bicycle guy either. I never was. But I enjoy the product side and the working side, and I work for fun. Saturday morning, I was on the phone with Honda on the way here, and I said, hey, to the guy I'm talking to, one of the development managers. We have a huge relationship with Honda. And I said, did you get the deck that I sent to you? I just redid everything for you with my guys, and I sent it. And he says, Eddie, I don't recall getting that this week. I said, no, I know I sent it to you. I said, can you look? I'm in the car driving here. And he says, he's quiet for a second, and he says, oh, yeah. Okay, you sent it to me on Sunday. I don't look at stuff on Sunday, he says, and I glossed right by it. And I said, oh, okay, well, yeah, sorry. I thought I sent it on Monday, but I sent it on Sunday. And so that's sort of an
Sunday
example.
Is your Monday.
Yeah, so, I mean, the all 7 days run together for me, and I just love working.
Well, probably
Crazy.
Part of why you're so successful at it.
Yeah.
And what about long-term plans for you? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Will you ever retire or?
Yeah, I need to slow down. I mean, as you get a little bit older, things aren't as clear, and so yeah, I see myself slowing down, and I think I'm going to be really selective on the projects. Obviously, I want to help anybody that I'm associated with today that needs help, and or once my kids, obviously, I'll stay close to them, but I'm not really taking on any new projects. I mean, I'm not. People call and I say, yeah, I try to help how I can, but I don't. Yeah, I need to slow down and I've done all the charity work that I want to do. I've traveled all over the world. I don't really need to do that. So I just need to play around with my flowers and my trees and my garden. And I think that, and watch those grandkids grow up.
Yeah.
And I think that's, and I'll feel good about everything that we've accomplished and everything that I've had the opportunity to be part of. I mean, I'm really blessed, and so.
Well, last question we ask everybody is, how do you want to be remembered in the sport?
I hadn't really thought about that till you just asked it. And I probably don't have a great answer, but I think just in life in general, I want to be, I think when my time's up is for people to say, hey, look, he was a good guy, and he was a good guy. He was an honest guy. He tried to do the right things, and hopefully that's what I'll be remembered for. And pretty simple, I guess. I don't know.
Well, just from my perspective, and I've known you for quite a while, but don't bump into you a lot because you're.
Yeah.
Valencia might as well be the other side of the world.
I needed a passport to get here. Are you kidding? Yeah.
So, but man, I can tell you, this is a small industry, as you well know. And
sure,
if you're a dick, you're just not going to go far. You're not going to be around here long because word gets around, and pretty soon, no one wants to work with you. And you've been around for a long time and been involved with so many companies. It just shows people trust you. People lean on you. They, I don't know that I've ever heard anybody say a bad word about you. And I think to me, that's your legacy.
Yeah.
Look at everything we just talked about. It's crazy, all the companies you've been involved with and brought to the market here and helped our sport grow with. It's crazy. So congratulations on that, I guess.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that.
And
it is a little bit crazy for me, even when we start sort of trying to write things down. I have a hard time keeping track of everything. So It's been quite a journey. I mean, motorcycling, you know, we go all the way back to the original comments when we sat down, is that we were so far away from anything to do with motorcycling, didn't even know how to spell the word motorcycle. And to think back on the opportunities that have come our way, and to be able to, you know, be able to put a string of things together that worked is, I feel privileged, and and so it's been a great journey, and I feel like, you know, it's not over, and we just keep chugging away, but there's a time when we got to slow down, like we talked.
Well, something tells me you're not done. I bet in the next few years you got something else up your sleeve. I can just tell. But anyway, thank you for everything you've done for the motorcycle community. Appreciate advice you've given me over the years. And you're a great guy, man. Thanks for coming and taking the time.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the opportunity.
Of course. Eddie Cole, hope you guys enjoyed that. Stick around. We're going to be right back to wrap up the show. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. A big thank you to Eddie Cole for taking the time to come in. Long drive down from Valencia, and I appreciate him making the time. This guy's got such a history in the sport, not only as a factory racer, but really what he's done. I mean, you look through some of these businesses that he started, and it's incredible. Answer and ProTaper and Matrix now, and bringing Gearne and Silkoline and Manitou. These are huge industry companies that, Eddie Cole is responsible for building. So amazing history. This is a guy who, he probably won't make it into the AMA Hall of Fame, but he sat on the board, and he should be in some type of Hall of Fame in our sport, because he's certainly helped to grow it and expand it over the years. So, and just a sweet human being, really great guy. So big thank you to him. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Stick around. Lots more shows coming. We got some great guests lined up, headed your way every other Friday. We'll see you next time. Yamaha is the industry leader in two-wheeled fun and performance. Celebrating 50 years of YZ in 2024, the Blue Crew is still dominating shootouts and competitions. Yamaha, revs your heart. Troy Lee Designs is the leader in off-road motocross apparel and style. So whether you're looking for a cool new paint job for your helmet, maybe your name and number on your helmet lettered on, you're looking for new gear, you're looking for mountain bike gear, off-road gear. They've got the brand new Scout line and GP and SE models. Troy Lee Designs has it all. They've been leading this industry for decades, and they're going to continue to do it. Check out TroyLeeDesigns.com. Throttle Show, we're all about supporting brands that support our sport. And there's one tire company that has never walked away from the sport of motocross and supercross, and it's Dunlop. When times got tough and the economy took a crash, Dunlop stepped up and stayed with our sport to support it and the athletes and individuals that love it. Their MX-53 line and MX-33 lines absolutely dominate this sport. Every national championship at the pro level has been won in the last decade, and nearly every single amateur national championship at Loretta Lynn's has been won on a Dunlop. So if you're looking for high performance, you're looking for amazing quality, and you're looking to support a brand that never turns its back on our sport, there's only one choice for you, and it's Dunlop. All right, Whiskey Throttle fam, we've got a sponsor here that I want to really encourage you guys to try, Element. If you haven't seen this stuff before, give them a check out on our Instagram bio. You can get in there. We've got a link that will give you free samples. You can go in and try this stuff. And this delivers just the right amount of electrolytes that you need when you're competing at all, especially if it's midsummer, humid, think Loretta Lynn's, Nationals. You're sweating like crazy. This is the best way to replenish it, okay? Straight water is just going to flush more electrolytes out of your body, cause more cramping. You've got to get the electrolytes back in. This Element provides it in the perfect package with 0 sugar. It is vegan, keto, paleo-friendly, gluten-free. This is the perfect product for athletes or those pretending to be athletes. So it was designed by Rob Wolf. This guy is a crazy smart dude working in the science field. Was developing for his own use in athletics, and he came up with the perfect formula. This stuff's awesome. This right here, the citrus salt, is my favorite. Of course, you can get it in a sample pack like this where you can try some different flavors, watermelon, orange, raspberry. Great stuff. Cannot recommend this enough. If you are racing, even at a local level, and sweating at all, which, come on, we all do on a dirt bike, you've got to have some of this stuff to replenish it right. Give it a try. Like I said, go to our bio on Instagram. You can find a discount code or a link that takes you directly to there, and we'll give you a free sample. Check it out. You're not going to want to miss that. Support these guys. They are fans of the sport, and we are so stoked to be partnered with them. Element is an incredible product that I use exclusively, and I'm so proud to have them part of the Whiskey Throttle Show. Pro Circuit is the leader in aftermarket performance and quality. Whether you're looking for a little more horsepower out of your engine, some quality hard parts to improve the way your bike feels and looks, better handling through suspension or linkage arms, Pro Circuit is where you need to stop. It's your one-stop shop. You can go in there and get everything you need to make your motorcycle go from average to exceptional. Pro Circuit's got enough number one plates on their wall to side an entire home, and there's a reason for that. They're very, very good at what they do. The highest quality products with one goal in mind, and that's winning. Check out ProCircuit.com. If you are in the market for a new vehicle, look no further than Toyota of Redlands. You've got to support a brand that is supporting motocross big time. At the amateur level, pro level, they are part owners in the Bar X Yamaha racing team. They support a ton of riders individually, and they support us here at Whiskey Throttle Media. And I'll tell you what, the facility up there in Redlands is absolutely incredible. It's beautiful. The folks are friendly. They're professional. And if you've never owned a Toyota, you got to give it a try. It is the only brand that I'll drive anymore. If you're buying, there's nothing more reliable, nothing that holds its resale value better. And the folks at Toyota of Redlands are just they still remember what customer service is. I guess that's all I really need to say. Incredibly friendly, professional, and just talented staff up there. We're stoked to have them a part of the show. If you see the Whiskey Throttle truck around here, the Toyota of Redlands Tundra, give us a wave and a honk. But man, just so stoked to have these guys on board. Like I said, anybody like that that's getting involved and supporting the sport, we just want to push as many people as we can to them, because those folks are rare, and especially when they have an incredible product and provide an incredible service. So get up to Toyota of Redlands, California. If you're anywhere in southern United States, southwest United States, it's worth the drive. Get over there, check those guys out. Tell them the Whiskey Throttle Crew sent you. On-switch device, something that was much needed in this sport. They've been innovating and bringing new products to market. Their latest is the new Nihilo Run Cool brake pistons. They're designed to be stronger than stock and provide exceptional cooling performance with less brake drag. Most OEM calipers pistons are made from aluminum that just can't hold up to the heat and extreme demands of serious racing. When they get hot, the aluminum will distort, causing loss of hydraulic pressure and brake failure. Nihilo's Run Cool pistons limit the area that boiling hot hydraulic fluid is able to come in contact with the piston, leaving 2/3 of the piston volume in open air with breather holes to enhance the cooling ability. It's made of a proprietary stainless blend, which is better at dissipating heat. You have issues with brake fade or brake failure, check out Nihilo Concepts among their many amazing hard parts and carbon fiber parts and titanium. NihiloConcepts.com. Seat Concepts is the leader in motorcycle saddles. If you're looking for a new cover or a new seat entirely, Seat Concepts is the place to go. They make custom seat foams catered to your height, weight, riding ability, riding type. They also have waterproof covers and foams that will not break down if you ride in a lot of inclement weather. And they pride themselves on being much more comfortable than OEM or any other aftermarket company. If you're looking for a new seat or a new cover, Seat Concepts, there's nothing better. Guys, I want to introduce you to Rockform, and a sponsor of the Whiskey Throttle Show here that has just been blowing my mind with their products. They've got all kinds of, started as phone cases. This is their rugged phone case here that I've got, which is just bulletproof. You could throw this thing out of an airplane, probably pick it up and be just fine. And on the back here, everything is magnetic, so it'll just stick to anything metallic, obviously. But this little locking device you've got in the back, this bolts onto handlebar mounts, car mounts, adhesive mounts, magnetic mounts, and it does not come off. It is locked in. I have no fear that my phone is going to pop off a handlebar on a street bike ride. And then I like the little sport ring they've got. They've got all kinds of devices that pop in here, but this thing acts as a stand. If you want to sit this thing up and watch something on your phone or work on it, just absolutely incredible. And this is magnetic as well. All kinds of amazing products, guys, for your phone. Kind of that's their primary function. They also have the G-Rock speaker. This is basically made for golf, and you just stick it to the frame of your golf cart and get after it. Got great tunes all day long. So a ton of products. But check out our boys at Rockform. These guys are killing it. I'm so stoked to be partnered with this brand. You know, we really pride ourselves on partnering with elite brands, really, really high-level companies, and Rockform is right on cue. Need to replace something on your bike that's worn out? Look no further than ProX. These guys aim to make everything OEM quality or better at an affordable price. And they've also got some new products coming. So right now, chains, sprockets, anything inside the engine internally, air filters. If it wears out, ProX makes it, and they make it at a quality level that's OEM or better. And they've got some new things coming that are awesome. A complete engine rebuild kits for the Polaris RZR 800s. Need to replace something on your bike that's worn out? Look no further than ProX. These guys aim to make everything OEM quality or better at an affordable price. And they've also got some new products coming. So right now, chains, sprockets, anything inside the engine internally, air filters. If it wears out, ProX makes it, and they make it at a quality level that's OEM or better. And they've got some new things coming that are awesome. A complete engine rebuild kits for the... All right, so you had a tip over in the garage or at the track and you broke your lever off. What are you going to do? Go to Arc Levers, guys. They're the only people you need to check out in this space. Arc Levers, everything manufactured right here in the United States to craftsman precision. The stuff is awesome. Whether you're looking for an entire clutch perch with maybe a bigger wheel, they make the wheel super easy to find and adjust. Or maybe you just want replacement levers. They do that as well. Anything you're after, they can change the throw, the feel, everything you want, custom. They can make them feel different, look different colors. These guys are dialed, man. They've got all kinds of cool products. If you haven't been over to Arc Levers and seen what they've got, check them out. These guys are being run by Factory Honda. If they're good enough for Jet Lawrence, I think you and I can probably make them work. The Star Racing Yamaha team, a lot of factory riders running them for good reason. They're the best products in the business. Check out Arc Levers. The Whiskey Throttle Show is presented by motosport.com. It doesn't matter if you like to pull a throttle cable on a dirt bike, street bike, side-by-side. Motosport.com is putting riders first with parts, gear, and accessories, including some of our partners like Troy Lee Designs, Dunlop, Pro Circuit, and more. They offer first returns free on apparel so you can buy with confidence. And Motosport.com offers fast, free shipping on all orders over $79. Make your next ride your best ride. Visit Motosport.com. If you're considering a facelift for your dirt bike, look no further than TBD MX. TBD MX offers fully customizable graphics. Whatever you want to put on there, it's up to you. You're the boss. You want a military theme? No problem. Give them an idea of what you're after and they'll make it. You want to put unicorns on there? Well, that's super weird, but he'll do it for you anyway. They use the highest quality materials cut to the exact die lines for easy installation, which, if you've ever put graphics on, you know is important. No bubbles, no creases. They fit perfectly. And they offer fast service and shipping, so you're not waiting around forever to get your bike dialed in. So stop looking like a dork at the track. Go to tbdmx.com and get yourself dialed in with a set of graphics that you want, with your sponsors and the things you want to see on it. TBDMX making the best graphics in motocross, and the Whiskey Throttle Media crew and the Whiskey Throttle Show is stoked to be partnered with TBDMX. Follow them on Instagram, give them a follow, and follow along with all of our bike builds as we feature the TBDMX graphics on all our builds. Every good podcast show has got to have an underwear sponsor, right? Well, we went right to the top, Ethica. These guys make the best underwear. If you haven't tried a pair, you don't know what you're missing. Your life hasn't even started yet. So try a pair of Ethicas on. Go to Ethica.com. Use our code WHISKEY20. Get you 20% off. And give all of your nether regions a break, man. It's vacation time for the boys. These things are comfortable. You're riding. Your butt's not going to get all chafed. These things are awesome. And guess what? They don't just make underwear. No. Tees, hats, beanies, sweatshirts, shorts for kids, ladies, toddlers, old people, everybody. You name it. They make them. You know what else they make? Moto gloves. I didn't even know that. I just found it out. So get over to Ethica.com. Check them out. These guys are awesome. Whiskey20. Use our code. Don't cheat me now. Get 20% off and put your buns in the best undies around. Ethica.com. All right, the sun is shining. That means you guys need to find yourself a good pair of sunglasses and look no further than Rockwell. These guys are making some incredible shades right now. They're all designed here in the USA, made in Italy. Very, very high-end craftsmanship on these things. They've got so many different models for men's and women's styles. There's floatable glasses. So if you're out on a lake, on a boat somewhere this summer, go out, find yourself a pair of the floatable ones. They've also got wireframe. They've got wraparound. Anything you're after, any style, Rockwell makes it. We are also working on a motocross goggle that is going to be insane. We are in the development stages of that. I'm helping them with that, as is Justin Hill and a couple other guys. So stay tuned for that. That's coming. They also make all kinds of casual wear. Rockwell is getting it done in all kinds of markets. But the sunglasses, whoo, these things are next level. Check them out, rockwell.com.
The inspiration for Element, interestingly, was from working with my coaches. I sat down with those guys. I'm like, hey, here's what I'm doing. What should I do? And they looked at everything and they were like, you need more electrolytes, specifically sodium. And like most people do when they have a coach, I ignored what their advice was. I'm kind of like, well, I salt my food, I'm probably good. And it took me at least a year to finally listen to these guys and do what they asked me to do. And it was just a switch flip. It was just so obvious that this was the critical missing piece to the story. And it's ironic that this salt piece was like the linchpin, the keystone to making all the rest of that work.
Last but not least, Specialized Bicycles. If you are in the market to start pedaling, this is where you want to start. They've got great entry-level bikes all the way up to the Cadillac, the new Levo e-bike, anything in between, man. It doesn't matter what kind of riding you're doing. Go check out and start with Specialized. Don't waste your time on something that's going to break. The derailler's not going to shift after a couple months. Get something quality. These guys make it. Specialized leads that industry. Thanks for checking out the Whiskey Throttle Show. If you guys liked it, be sure to like and subscribe so you get notified anytime we have a new show go up. You can also go over to WhiskeyThrottleMedia.com and check out all of the content, new bike builds, new bike introductions. We've got all kinds of features in the moto and off-road space, as well as all of the current Whiskey Throttle shows listed there. You can find our YouTube channel to get a complete list by season of all the shows we've done, well over 100 at this point. And also follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, like, subscribe, comment, all that junk. We'll see you guys.